In this video, I'll be walking you through the complete timeline of Five Nights at Freddy's, covering every major event in chronological order from the very beginning all the way to the present day. We're going to be covering the main video game series across 10 major entries and time periods, including the original trilogy, the horror attraction, Pizzeria Simulator, Ultimate Custom Night, Help Wanted, Security Breach, and the Ruin DLC. This timeline focuses on the main video game series and directly related events, excluding most book series and spin-off games unless they're directly relevant to understanding the core lore, because including every single piece of extended media would make this video impossibly long and would muddy the waters of what actually happened in the primary canon. As always, throughout the video, there will be a timeline animation at the bottom of the screen, so you can easily follow along and understand exactly when each event takes place, which is especially important for a franchise as notoriously complex and non-linear as Five Nights at Freddy's. Now, here's something that might surprise you if you're new to the deeper lore of this series. The very first tragic events that set the entire franchise in motion occur long before the animatronics ever become haunted, and understanding these early incidents is absolutely crucial to making sense of everything that follows. But before we get to any of that, we need to explain the setting first, because Five Nights at Freddy's doesn't start with a haunted pizzeria or killer robots. It starts with a simple family diner, two business partners with a dream, and a tragedy that would echo through decades of horror. Our story begins in the early 1980s, a time when the American entertainment industry was experiencing a renaissance of family dining establishments that combined food service with animatronic performances. It is in 1983 that the foundation of what would become one of the most tragic and convoluted sagas in horror history takes root. Two men, Henry, Emily, and William Afton, join forces to establish Fazbear Entertainment, a company built on the promise of bringing joy to children through cutting-edge animatronic entertainment. Their partnership would prove to be one of the most consequential collaborations in the franchise's dark history, though at this point, neither man could foresee the horrors that would unfold. Henry dreamed of creating animatronics that could think, respond, and even feel in ways that would blur the line between machine and living being. His designs incorporated sophisticated artificial intelligence systems that were decades ahead of their time, programming that allowed the animatronics to recognize faces, respond to emotional cues, and adapt their behavior based on the children around them. This emotional programming represented a breakthrough in entertainment technology, giving the animatronics an uncanny ability to connect with their young audience in ways that felt genuinely personal and alive. William Afton, by contrast, brought business acumen and a charismatic presence to the partnership. On the surface, he appeared to be the perfect complement to Henry's technical genius. He understood marketing, he knew how to attract families, and he possessed a showman's instinct for what would capture the public imagination. But beneath this veneer of respectability, William harbored interests that diverged sharply from his partner's wholesome vision. While Henry focused on creating life through technology, William became increasingly fascinated with death and what might lie beyond it. His interest in Remnant, a supernatural substance that would later prove central to the franchise's mythology, began during these early years. Remnant, as you will come to understand, is a material essence that forms when a soul becomes bound to physical matter through intense emotion, particularly the trauma of death. William's curiosity about this phenomenon was not academic. It was obsessive, dark, and would eventually drive him to commit unspeakable acts. The crown jewel of their early collaboration was Fredbear's Family Diner, an establishment that would become ground zero for the tragedies to come. The diner featured two main animatronic characters, Fredbear and Spring Bonnie, both utilizing an innovative and ultimately dangerous technology known as Springlock Mechanisms. These Springlock suits represented a dual-purpose design, a cost-saving measure that allowed the same costume to function both as an animatronic character that could perform autonomously and as a wearable suit that human employees could climb inside to interact with guests directly. The mechanism worked through a series of spring-loaded components that could be manually cranked back and locked into place, creating enough space for a person to wear the suit safely. However, the technology was inherently unstable. Any moisture, sudden movement, or structural failure could cause the spring locks to release, and when they did, the animatronic components would snap back into their default positions with tremendous force, impaling anyone inside with the metal endoskeleton parts, crossbeams, and animatronic devices. Despite these obvious dangers, both Henry and William saw the Springlock suits as a practical solution to their staffing needs. Fredbear himself was a golden bear character, rotund and friendly in appearance, designed to be the face of the establishment. Spring Bonnie, a yellow rabbit with an almost unsettling grin, served as his companion. Together, they entertained families in a dining room decorated with colorful streamers, checkered floors, and the kind of aggressively cheerful aesthetic that defined 1980s family entertainment venues. Children would celebrate birthdays there, families would gather for dinners, and the animatronics would sing, dance, and create memories that were meant to last a lifetime. But not all memories created at Fredbear's Family Diner were happy ones. William Afton had 3 children, and his youngest son, a boy whose real name is never revealed in the games but who fans have come to call the crying child, lived in a state of constant terror. This child, small and vulnerable, experienced vivid nightmares that plagued him night after night. In his dreams, the animatronics that entertained other children during the day transformed into monstrous entities. These nightmare versions of Fredbear and the other characters featured razor-sharp teeth, grotesque proportions, and an aggressive malevolence that went far beyond anything a child's imagination should conjure. The animatronics in his nightmares would hunt him through dark hallways, their footsteps echoing, their breathing heavy and mechanical, their intent unmistakably violent. The source of these nightmares remains a subject of debate within the lore. Some evidence suggests that William Afton deliberately experimented on his own son, using illusion disc technology or other methods to induce these terrors as part of his twisted research. Other interpretations suggest the nightmares were a natural psychological response to trauma the child experienced during his waking hours. What is certain is that the crying child's fear was profound and all-consuming, affecting every aspect of his young life. Making matters worse, the crying child's older brother, Michael Afton, seemed to take sadistic pleasure in tormenting him. Michael was a teenager, old enough to know better, but young enough to lack the empathy and foresight to understand the lasting damage his actions would cause. He and his friends, a group of boys who wore masks representing the animatronic characters, would ambush the crying child regularly. They would corner him in his room, jump out from hiding places, and chase him through the house, wearing the masks of Foxy, Bonnie, Chica, and Freddy. To them, it was just pranks, just typical older sibling behavior taken perhaps a bit too far. To the crying child, already traumatized by his nightmares and whatever else he had witnessed, these encounters were genuinely terrifying experiences that reinforced his fear of the animatronics. The crying child found what little comfort he could in his plush toys. His room was filled with them, small stuffed versions of the Fredbear's characters that surrounded his bed like a protective barrier, but one plush toy stood out from the rest. His Fredbear plush, a golden bear with a purple top hat and bow tie, seemed to be more than just a toy. Throughout the gameplay of Five Nights at Freddy's 4, which depicts these events, the Fredbear plush appears in various locations, always watching, and occasionally text appears on screen suggesting the plush is speaking to the child. The messages are cryptic and somewhat ominous. "Tomorrow is another day," the plush seems to say. "We are still your friends. Do you believe that? Most disturbingly, you know what will happen if he catches you." These communications suggest that either the crying child was experiencing some form of psychosis, projecting a voice onto his toy, or that something supernatural was already at work, using the plush as a conduit. The true nature of the Fredbear plush and who or what might have been speaking through it remains one of the franchise's enduring mysteries, though many theorists believe it was connected to either William Afton's experiments or to the entity that would later be known as the Puppet. The Afton family's dysfunction extended beyond Michael's bullying. William's daughter, Elizabeth Afton, also played a role in the unfolding tragedy, though her story intersects with a different animatronic. William had designed an animatronic called Circus Baby, a character intended for a separate venture called Circus Baby's Pizza World. Circus Baby was technologically advanced even beyond Henry's designs, featuring voice mimicry capabilities and, most sinisterly, a mechanism hidden in her torso designed to capture and kill children. William had built a murder machine disguised as a children's entertainer. Despite creating this monstrosity, or perhaps because he understood exactly what it was capable of, William explicitly forbade Elizabeth from going near Circus Baby. He warned her repeatedly, but Elizabeth was drawn to the animatronic, fascinated by its design and desperate for her father's attention and approval. She saw Circus Baby as beautiful, as special, as something made just for her. This fascination would eventually lead to her death, though that event falls slightly outside the immediate time frame we are discussing. The crying child, meanwhile, continued to witness unsettling events at Fredbear's family diner itself. During visits to the establishment, he would see things that other children either did not notice or did not find disturbing. He observed staff members wearing the spring Bonnie suit, watching as they entertained children, and something about the sight filled him with dread. Whether he witnessed William Afton wearing the suit during one of his early crimes, or whether the child simply possessed an intuitive sense that something was wrong with the Springlock suits, the yellow rabbit costume became a particular source of terror for him. He would cry when taken to the diner. He would try to hide, and he would plead not to be left alone near the animatronics. As the crying child's birthday approached in 1983, his dread intensified. He knew a party was being planned. He knew it would take place at Fredbear's family diner. He knew he would be forced to confront the very things that haunted his nightmares and his waking hours. Despite his tears and protests, the party went forward. On the day itself, the crying child was brought to the diner, surrounded by other children celebrating, by decorations and cake and the cheerful music that played throughout the establishment. But for him, there was no joy, only mounting terror. Michael Afton and his friends, wearing their animatronic masks, saw an opportunity for what they thought would be the ultimate prank. They cornered the crying child in the dining room, right in front of the stage where Fredbear performed. The child was crying, begging them to stop, but the teenagers were caught up in their own amusement, unable or unwilling to recognize that they had gone too far. They grabbed the small boy, lifted him off his feet despite his struggles, and carried him toward the animatronic bear. Fredbear's mouth was open, part of his performance routine, revealing the metal endoskeleton teeth beneath the costume exterior. The boys decided to put the crying child's head inside Fredbear's mouth to give him a close-up view of the thing he feared most. to make him face the animatronic directly. They lifted him higher, ignoring his screams and tears, and pushed his head between Fredbear's jaws. The crying child's tears fell onto the Springlock mechanisms. The pressure of his head against the suit's interior components, combined with the moisture from his crying, created exactly the conditions that made Springlock suits so dangerous. The mechanisms, already under tension, began to fail. The locks released, and in an instant, the animatronic components snapped back into their active positions with devastating force. The tragedy strikes on the day of the party. The crying child, still sobbing and struggling against his brother's grip, is lifted high into the air by Michael and his friends. They push the boy's head directly into Fredbear's mouth, laughing as they force him closer to the animatronic's mechanical jaws. It's meant to be a prank, a cruel joke to frighten the terrified child. But something goes catastrophically wrong. Fredbear's Springlock mechanisms, those same delicate systems that allow the suit to function both as an animatronic and as a wearable costume, engage unexpectedly. The massive jaws clamp down with tremendous force, crushing the crying child's frontal lobe in an instant. Blood pours from the wound as screams fill the diner. The animatronic freezes, locked in place with the child's head still caught between its teeth. Patrons scatter in horror. The birthday party transforms into a scene of absolute nightmare. The crying child is rushed to the hospital, but the damage is too severe. For several days, he clings to life in a hospital bed, slipping in and out of consciousness. His family keeps vigil, though the doctors offer little hope. The boy experiences strange, feverish dreams during these final days, visions of the animatronics he feared so deeply, distorted and nightmarish versions that speak to him in the darkness. On the 6th day, the crying child's heart monitor flatlines. He dies from his injuries, never waking from his coma. The incident becomes known as the Bite of 83, a watershed moment that will haunt the Afton family and the entire Fazbear Entertainment Company for decades to come. The immediate aftermath is devastating on every level. Fredbear's Family Diner, the restaurant that Henry, Emily, and William Afton built together from nothing, the place where their dreams of family entertainment first took shape, is forced to close its doors permanently. The liability is simply too great. No amount of public relations can salvage the reputation of an establishment where a child was killed by one of the main attractions. Parents throughout the community are horrified. The local news covers the story extensively, and the footage of the bloodied animatronic becomes seared into the public consciousness. Health inspectors, safety regulators, and insurance investigators descend upon the diner. The Springlock suits, once considered the pinnacle of animatronic innovation, are now viewed as dangerous relics. The building sits empty for months afterward, a monument to failed ambitions and lost innocence. The colorful murals on the walls, the carefully designed stage, the tables where countless families once gathered, all of it stands abandoned, gathering dust in the darkness. Henry Emily takes the tragedy particularly hard. As the primary designer of the animatronics, he feels personally responsible for the death of William's son. The Springlock mechanisms were his innovation, his contribution to making the suits more versatile and lifelike. He had been so proud of the engineering, the way the endoskeleton could compress to allow a person to wear the suit safely, provided all the proper protocols were followed. But he never anticipated this scenario, never imagined that someone would deliberately force a child into an active animatronic's mouth. The guilt consumes him. He withdraws from public life, spending long hours in his workshop, obsessively reviewing the designs, trying to understand exactly what went wrong. His wife worries about his mental state. He barely eats, barely sleeps. The joy he once found in creation has been replaced by a crushing sense of failure. His animatronics, meant to bring happiness to children, have instead brought death. The irony is not lost on him, and it eats away at his soul day after day. William Afton's response to his son's death is more complex and far more dangerous. Outwardly, he appears to grieve like any father would. He attends the funeral, accepts condolences from friends and business associates, and makes the appropriate public statements about the tragedy. But internally, something fundamental shifts within him. The loss of his youngest child, combined with his already unstable psychological state and his growing obsession with life and death, pushes him further down a dark path. Rather than being deterred by the horror of what happened, William becomes even more curious about the nature of mortality, about the boundary between life and death, and about whether that boundary can be crossed. He begins to wonder if consciousness can persist beyond physical death, if the human spirit or soul is something tangible that can be measured, captured, or manipulated. His grief transforms into a twisted form of scientific curiosity. He starts conducting experiments, small at first, testing theories about remnant, the term he uses for the substance he believes carries human consciousness and emotion. These experiments are crude and disturbing, involving small animals and increasingly complex machinery. William's family notices the change in him, the way his eyes seem distant and cold, the way he spends more and more time locked away in his private workshop. But they attribute it to grief, to a father's broken heart, never suspecting the true depths of his descent into madness. Despite the closure of Fredbear's Family Diner, the Fazbear Entertainment brand survives. The company, now under new management and with significant financial backing from investors who see potential in the concept despite the tragedy, decides to rebrand and relaunch. They open a new establishment called Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, deliberately distancing it from the Fredbear name and the associated trauma. This new location is larger, more modern, and features an entirely new cast of animatronic characters designed to appeal to children while avoiding the dangerous Springlock technology that led to the bite of '83. The new animatronics are Freddy Fazbear himself, a brown bear with a top hat and bow tie who serves as the friendly face of the franchise, Bonnie, a blue rabbit with a red bow tie who plays guitar, Chica, a yellow chicken with a bib reading Let's Eat who represents the pizza aspect of the restaurant, and Foxy, a red fox pirate with an eye patch who performs on his own separate stage called Pirate Cove. These characters are purely animatronic, with no option for employees to wear them as suits. They're bolted to their stages, programmed with specific routines, and designed with numerous safety features to prevent any possibility of another incident. The restaurant itself is bright and welcoming, with a checkered floor, colorful decorations, and an arcade area filled with games. For a while, it seems like the company might actually recover from the disaster at Fredbear's. But William Afton is not finished. His experiments have been escalating, and he's reached a conclusion that chills him even as it excites his scientific curiosity. He believes that the death of a child, particularly a death involving strong emotion and trauma, creates a unique form of remnant, a powerful essence that can bind a soul to physical objects. He's theorized this based on his observations and his twisted research, but he needs to test it. He needs subjects, and he knows exactly where to find them. One rainy evening, outside the new Freddy Fazbear's Pizza location, William Afton commits his first deliberate murder. The victim is Charlotte Emily, Henry's daughter, the little girl who was once friends with William's own children. She's been locked out of the restaurant during a birthday party, left alone in the alley behind the building while other children celebrate inside. The reasons for her being outside alone are unclear. Perhaps she was being punished for misbehavior. Perhaps it was simply a tragic oversight. But William sees his opportunity. He approaches her in the dark alley, and in a moment of cold calculation, he kills her. The murder is quick and brutal. He leaves her body slumped against the wall, rain washing away the evidence, and disappears into the night before anyone discovers what has happened. What William doesn't anticipate is the presence of another animatronic, one that Henry Emily designed specifically with his daughter in mind. The puppet, also known as the marionette, is a slender, mask-faced animatronic that lives in a large music box inside the restaurant. Henry created it with a special security feature, a bracelet that Charlotte wears that keeps the puppet contained in its box as long as she's safely inside the building. But when Charlotte is locked outside, when she moves beyond the range of the security system, the puppet is released. It's programmed to find her, to protect her. The puppet emerges from its box and makes its way outside, moving with an eerie, fluid grace that's unlike the other animatronics. It finds Charlotte's body in the alley, rain pouring down, her small form motionless against the brick wall. The puppet, driven by its programming and perhaps something more, something Henry inadvertently built into its core systems, attempts to revive her. It drapes itself over her body as if trying to share its mechanical life with her fading human one. But it's too late. Charlotte is dead. However, something extraordinary happens in that moment. Charlotte's spirit, her consciousness, her soul, whatever you choose to call it, doesn't simply dissipate. Instead, it binds with the puppet, merging with the animatronic systems in a way that creates something entirely new. Charlotte Emily becomes the puppet, her human consciousness now residing within the mechanical frame. She retains her memories, her personality, her sense of self, but she's trapped in this new form. Over time, she will come to understand her role. She becomes a protector, a guardian of other lost souls, driven by a need to help children who suffer the same fate she did. The puppet will play a crucial role in the events to come, though few understand its true nature or the tragedy that created it. Emboldened by his success, if it can be called that, William Afton continues his dark work. He's confirmed his theory. Death can create remnant, and remnant can bind souls to objects. Now he needs more data, more subjects, more proof of his discovery. He begins planning a larger experiment, one that will require careful execution and perfect timing. He chooses Freddy Fazbear's Pizza as his hunting ground, the place where families gather, where children run and play unsupervised, where chaos and noise provide perfect cover for someone with sinister intentions. William knows the layout of the building intimately. He helped design aspects of it, and he's familiar with every back room, every security blind spot, every weakness in the system. He also has access to one of the old Springlock suits from Fredbear's family diner, specifically the Spring Bonnie costume, a yellow rabbit suit that he can wear to move through the restaurant without raising suspicion. Children trust mascot characters. They approach them willingly, eager to interact with their favorite characters come to life. Over the course of several visits to Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, William Afton, disguised in the Spring Bonnie suit, lures 5 children away from the main dining area. Their names are Gabriel, Susie, Jeremy, Fritz, and Cassidy. Each child is approached individually, told that there's something special to see, a surprise waiting in the back room, a secret that only they can know about. The children, innocent and trusting, follow the yellow rabbit without hesitation. They don't see the man inside the suit. They don't recognize the danger. One by one, William leads them to a secluded back room, a storage area far from the cameras and the crowds. And one by one, he murders them. The details of these murders are horrific. Acts of violence committed against defenseless children by a man who has completely abandoned his humanity in pursuit of his twisted experiments. He's methodical about it, clinical even, observing the process with the detachment of a scientist conducting research. After each murder, he hides the bodies inside the animatronic suits on the main stage and in Pirate Cove. Gabriel's body is stuffed into Freddy Fazbear. Susie's small form is hidden within Chica. Jeremy is placed inside Bonnie. Fritz is concealed in Foxy. And Cassidy, the fifth victim, is hidden in a spare golden Freddy suit, an older model kept in the back for parts and storage. The murders go unnoticed at first. The children are reported missing, their parents frantic, police investigations launched. But without bodies, without clear evidence of foul play at the restaurant, the case quickly grows cold. The animatronics continue to perform, unaware that they now contain the remains of murdered children within their endoskeletons. But William's theory proves correct once again. The children's spirits, traumatized by their violent deaths and bound by the remnant created in those final moments of terror, don't move on to whatever lies beyond. Instead, they possess the very animatronics that contain their bodies. Gabriel becomes Freddy, Susie becomes Chica, Jeremy becomes Bonnie, Fritz becomes Foxy, and Cassidy becomes Golden Freddy, the most vengeful and powerful of them all. These spirits are confused at first, disoriented by their new existence. They don't fully understand what has happened to them, why they're trapped in these mechanical bodies, why they can't go home to their families. But gradually they begin to remember. They remember the yellow rabbit. They remember the back room. They remember the man who killed them. And they become angry. The animatronics at Freddy Fazbear's Pizza begin to exhibit strange and disturbing behavior, particularly during the night hours when the restaurant is closed. They move on their own, despite being powered down. They wander the building, their movements jerky and unnatural, driven by the confused spirits within. Security guards report seeing the animatronics staring at cameras, standing in doorways, approaching the security office with what can only be described as malicious intent. The possessed animatronics are especially aggressive toward adults, particularly adult men, as if they're searching for someone, hunting for the person who wronged them. They can't distinguish between innocent employees and their actual killer. To their child minds, twisted by death and possession, all adults become potential threats, potential targets for their revenge. The company tries to explain away these incidents as malfunctions, as glitches in the programming, but the truth is far more sinister. The animatronics are haunted, possessed by the vengeful spirits of murdered children, and they won't rest until they find the man in the yellow rabbit suit. Following the tragic closure of Fredbear's Family Diner, a new chapter in the nascent Fazbear Entertainment saga began. We now move to our second major timeline entry, covering the first iteration of Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, an establishment that would etch itself into the annals of urban legend and horror. This era, broadly spanning from late 1983 into the mid-1980s, marks a pivotal shift in the company's trajectory and the introduction of characters who would become synonymous with the franchise. With the Fredbear's Family Diner incident still a fresh, albeit suppressed memory, the decision was made to rebrand and launch a new family entertainment venture. This wasn't merely a new restaurant, but a complete overhaul of the company's public image, likely an attempt to distance itself from the unfortunate events surrounding Fredbear and Spring Bonnie. Thus, Fazbear Entertainment was formally established, or at the very least, solidified its corporate identity, moving forward under this new, more whimsical banner. The intention was clear, to create a brighter, more appealing environment for children and families, leaving behind the shadows of its predecessor. The first Freddy Fazbear's Pizza location, a vibrant and bustling establishment, opened its doors to the public, eager to fill the void left by the diner. At its heart were the original animatronics, a quartet of charismatic performers designed to captivate young audiences. Leading the band was Freddy Fazbear himself, a friendly brown bear with a top hat and bow tie, serving as the establishment's namesake and mascot. Accompanying him were Bonnie the bunny, a purple rabbit with a guitar, Chica the chicken, a yellow avian character with a cupcake, and Foxy the pirate fox, a somewhat more eccentric character housed in his own dedicated cove, often depicted as a swashbuckling adventurer. These animatronics weren't just static props. They were marvels of early 1980s engineering, boasting advanced movement capabilities that allowed them to walk, gesture, and interact with their surroundings in a surprisingly lifelike manner. Their vocal processors were equally sophisticated, enabling them to sing songs, tell stories, and even engage in rudimentary conversations, creating an immersive experience for the children who flocked to see them. The design philosophy behind these characters was simple yet effective, to be larger than life, approachable, and endlessly entertaining, providing a sense of wonder and joy that was, for a time, unparalleled in children's entertainment. The sheer spectacle of these singing, dancing robots was a major draw, cementing Freddy Fazbear's Pizza as a popular destination for birthday parties and family outings. The technological prowess displayed in their construction was a testament to the ingenuity of their creators, promising a future where animatronics could blur the lines between machine and living performer. Behind the scenes, two key figures, the co-founders of Fazbear Entertainment, played instrumental roles in bringing this vision to life. William Afton, a man whose true nature would later be revealed as deeply sinister, was a constant presence at this first Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. While his official role within the company was often shrouded in a degree of ambiguity, it is clear he held significant influence, likely as a co-owner and perhaps even a financial backer. His frequent visits weren't just for oversight, they were often driven by a darker, more predatory motive. Afton, a brilliant but twisted engineer, had a keen understanding of the animatronics and the layout of the establishment, knowledge he would tragically exploit. His presence, initially innocuous, would soon become synonymous with unspeakable acts of violence. Working alongside Afton was Henry Emily, the true engineering genius and creative visionary behind the animatronics. Henry was the heart and soul of Fazbear Entertainment's technical department, responsible for the intricate designs, programming, and maintenance of the mechanical performers. His passion lay in crafting joy and wonder, a stark contrast to Afton's hidden malevolence. Henry's dedication to his craft ensured the animatronics were not just functional, but truly captivating, embodying his desire to bring happiness to children. He poured his expertise into every circuit and servo, aiming for perfection in their movements and expressions. The advanced features of Freddy, Bonnie, Chica, and Foxy were direct results of Henry's innovative mind, pushing the boundaries of what was thought possible for animatronic entertainment at the time. His involvement was crucial in establishing the high standard of mechanical performance that defined the early Fazbear establishments. He meticulously designed the internal mechanisms, the endoskeletons, which allowed for the fluid movements and expressive gestures that so enchanted the young patrons. Henry's goal was to create characters that felt almost alive, capable of eliciting genuine emotional responses from their audience, and in this, he succeeded spectacularly, albeit with unforeseen and horrific consequences. The intricate programming that allowed the animatronics to sing in harmony, to tell stories with varying inflections, and to even respond to simple commands, was all a product of Henry's tireless work and profound understanding of robotics and artificial intelligence. He envisioned a world where technology could enhance human experience, particularly for children, fostering an environment of pure, unadulterated fun. However, the seemingly idyllic facade of Freddy Fazbear's Pizza was shattered by a series of horrific events that would forever stain its legacy. Within the brightly lit walls of the pizzeria, a darkness began to fester, orchestrated by William Afton. In a series of unspeakable acts, Afton lured 5 innocent children away from the main dining area, one by one, into secluded parts of the establishment. The precise methods he employed are not fully detailed in the historical records, but it is understood that he used his position of authority, or perhaps a costume, to gain their trust. The children, unsuspecting and vulnerable, were then murdered by Afton in cold blood. This act of unimaginable cruelty was not a random outburst. It was a premeditated and calculated series of crimes that would have profound and lasting repercussions, not just for the victims and their families, but for the very fabric of Fazbear Entertainment. The joy and laughter that once filled the pizzeria were now overshadowed by the chilling reality of these disappearances, sending shockwaves through the local community. The police investigations that followed were likely hampered by the lack of immediate evidence and the sheer audacity of Afton's crimes committed within a public space. Following these heinous acts, Afton, with a chilling display of cunning and depravity, took the bodies of the 5 murdered children and hid them within the very animatronics that were meant to bring joy. Each child's remains were meticulously concealed within the hollow internal structures of Freddy, Bonnie, Chica, and Foxy. The 5th child, however, was not placed within one of the primary performers, but rather within a seemingly dormant, golden-colored animatronic bear, a prototype or perhaps an older model of Freddy, known as Golden Freddy. This act of concealment was not merely to dispose of the evidence. It served a far more sinister purpose, one that would become clear only much later. By placing the bodies inside the animatronics, Afton inadvertently created a horrifying nexus between the deceased children and the mechanical entertainers, binding their fates in a way he could scarcely have imagined. The stench of decay, though initially masked by the pizzeria's strong cleaning agents and the aroma of pizza, would eventually become a persistent, unsettling presence, contributing to the establishment's growing reputation for being dirty. This grim secret, hidden within plain sight, transformed the innocent animatronics into unwitting tombs. The sheer audacity of Afton's actions to use the very symbols of children's entertainment as instruments of his grotesque cover-up speaks volumes about his profound lack of empathy and his twisted understanding of power and control. He likely believed he had successfully erased all traces of his crimes, confident that the animatronics would serve as permanent, silent guardians of his dark secrets. However, Afton's plan for a perfect cover-up was thwarted by a force far beyond his comprehension, the supernatural. The spirits of the murdered children, unable to find peace, refused to leave their earthly confines. Instead, driven by an overwhelming sense of injustice and a desperate yearning for retribution, their souls latched onto the animatronics that housed their physical remains. Thus, the spirits of the 5 children possessed Freddy, Bonnie, Chica, Foxy, and Golden Freddy. This possession wasn't a mere symbolic attachment, it was a tangible, malevolent infusion of consciousness and emotion into the mechanical bodies. The animatronics, once programmed for song and dance, now moved with an unnatural, unsettling sentience, driven by the lingering pain and anger of the deceased children. These possessed animatronics were no longer just machines. They were vengeful entities, trapped between worlds, seeking an outlet for their torment. The once friendly faces of Freddy, Bonnie, Chica, and Foxy now harbored a deep-seated resentment, their internal programming twisted by the ethereal presence of the children. Golden Freddy, in particular, became a spectral manifestation, appearing and disappearing at will, a silent, chilling harbinger of the tragedy. This supernatural turn of events marked a fundamental shift in the narrative, introducing the element of the paranormal that would become a cornerstone of the entire franchise. The spirits, bound to their metallic prisons, would forever haunt the halls of Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, their cries for justice echoing through the decades, setting the stage for a cycle of terror and revenge that would span multiple locations and generations. The seemingly innocent animatronics, once symbols of childhood joy, were now instruments of a lingering supernatural dread, their movements and actions influenced by the tormented souls within. The pizzeria, once a place of celebration, became a crucible of sorrow and vengeance, its festive atmosphere irrevocably tainted by the spectral presence of the children. The true horror of Freddy Fazbear's Pizza had just begun. The horror William Afton had set in motion would not stay hidden for long. Within weeks of the missing children incident, the animatronics at Freddy Fazbear's Pizza began to exhibit deeply disturbing changes that would ultimately seal the restaurant's fate. The first signs manifested as a series of increasingly alarming physical symptoms that staff members initially tried to dismiss as mechanical failures or routine maintenance issues. The animatronics started to emit foul, putrid odors that permeated the entire dining area. Employees described the smell as resembling rotting meat or decomposing organic matter, a stench so overpowering that it lingered on clothing and in hair long after shifts ended. Maintenance workers who inspected the suits found no obvious source for the smell within the mechanical components or wiring. The odor seemed to emanate from deep within the animatronic casings themselves, from spaces that should have contained nothing but metal endoskeletons and servo motors. What they could not have known, what they refused to consider, was that the smell came from the children's bodies decomposing inside the suits, hidden within the complex machinery where no one thought to look. Accompanying the odors were strange fluids that began to leak from various points on the animatronics. Dark, viscous liquids seeped from the seams and joints of the suits, dripping onto the stage and pooling on the checkered floor below. The substance stained the fabric of the animatronic costumes, leaving discolored patches that grew larger with each passing day. Staff members tasked with cleaning the stages reported that the fluids had an unusual consistency and an even more disturbing smell, up close. Some described it as oily, others as sticky and organic in nature. The company line insisted it was hydraulic fluid or lubricant from the animatronic systems, but the sheer volume and the fact that it appeared to be coming from areas with no hydraulic components raised questions that management actively discouraged employees from asking. Parents who brought their children to the pizzeria during this period began to notice even more specific and horrifying details. Multiple customers reported seeing what appeared to be blood and mucus around the animatronics' eyes and mouths. The animatronic faces, designed to be cheerful and inviting, were now marred by dark stains that crusted around the eye sockets and dripped from the corners of the mechanical mouths. Some parents claimed the substances looked fresh, as if they had only recently appeared, while others noted older, dried residue that had built up over time. The animatronics' eyes, which were supposed to move in programmed patterns to create the illusion of life, now seemed to be weeping these dark fluids. Complaints poured into the restaurant's front desk, with parents demanding explanations and refunds. Management continued to deflect, blaming the appearance on stage lighting, on spilled food and drinks, on anything other than the unthinkable truth. The behavioral anomalies proved even more unsettling than the physical deterioration. The animatronics began to move in ways that their programming should not have allowed. Staff members working late shifts reported seeing Freddy, Bonnie, Chica, and Foxy twitching and jerking when they should have been completely powered down. The movements were subtle at first, a slight turn of the head, a finger curling inward, but they escalated over time. Employees would enter the dining room to find the animatronics in different positions than they had been left in the night before. Bonnie might be facing stage left instead of forward. Chica's jaw might be hanging open when it had been closed. Foxy's curtain in Pirate Cove would be disturbed, as if something had moved behind it. More disturbing still were the reports of the animatronics staring directly at employees. Workers setting up for the day or cleaning after closing would feel eyes on them and turn to find one of the animatronics apparently watching them, its mechanical eyes tracking their movement across the room. The animatronic's gaze felt intentional, focused, and deeply wrong. Some employees refused to work alone in the building. Others quit outright, unwilling to spend another moment in the presence of machines that seemed to have developed an awareness they were never designed to possess. The few who stayed, whether out of financial necessity or misplaced loyalty, learned to avoid looking directly at the animatronics and to never turn their backs on the stage. The local health department became involved as complaints mounted from concerned parents and even from employees who could no longer ignore the obvious health hazards. Inspectors visited the restaurant multiple times, documenting the foul odors, the unexplained fluids, and the general unsanitary conditions that had developed around the animatronics. Violation notices were issued citing numerous health code breaches. The restaurant was given deadlines to address the problems, deadlines that came and went with only superficial attempts at compliance. The company cleaned the visible stains, applied air fresheners to mask the smells, and assured inspectors that the animatronics were being properly maintained. But the problems persisted and worsened because the root cause, the bodies hidden within the suits, remained undiscovered. Customer attendance plummeted as word spread throughout the community. The pizzeria that had once been packed with birthday parties and families now sat mostly empty, even during peak hours. The few customers who did visit often left quickly, disturbed by the atmosphere and the clearly deteriorating state of the animatronics. Children who had once begged their parents to take them to Freddy's now refused to enter the building. The rumors grew more elaborate with each retelling. Some claimed the restaurant was haunted. Others whispered about the missing children, about the man in the spring Bonnie suit, about things that should not have been possible but somehow were. The missing children incident itself became widely publicized as police investigations continued and families of the victims demanded answers. News coverage linked the disappearances directly to Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, and the restaurant's name became synonymous with tragedy and negligence. The company's reputation, already damaged by the bite of 83 at the sister location, could not survive this second catastrophe. Parents organized protests outside the pizzeria. Lawyers began circling, preparing lawsuits on behalf of the victims' families. The corporate owners realized that the location had become a liability that could bring down the entire franchise if allowed to continue operating. The decision was made to shut down the restaurant permanently. The closure happened quietly, without fanfare or official announcement. One day, the doors simply did not open. The animatronics, now silent and still, were left inside the darkened building. Whether they were stored away in some back room, partially dismantled for future use, or simply abandoned in place, the exact fate of these original animatronics remains unclear. What is certain is that they were not destroyed. The company, ever focused on cutting costs, saw value in the animatronic endoskeletons and suits, even in their corrupted state. They would be kept, warehoused, waiting for a time when they might be refurbished or repurposed. The spirits trapped within them would have to wait as well, bound to the metal and fabric prisons that held their remains, their anger and confusion growing with each passing year in the darkness. By 1987, Fazbear Entertainment found itself at a crossroads. The original Freddy Fazbear's Pizza location, the one that had replaced the ill-fated Fredbear's Family Diner, had become a liability. Years of rumors, whispers about missing children, and the persistent stench emanating from the animatronics had taken their toll on the company's reputation. Parents were hesitant to bring their children to a restaurant where the mascot seemed to leak mysterious fluids and the atmosphere felt oppressive rather than joyful. The financial reports painted an equally grim picture. Attendance had dropped, birthday party bookings had declined, and the mounting costs of maintaining aging animatronic equipment were becoming unsustainable. Something had to change if the Freddy Fazbear brand was going to survive. The corporate response was ambitious and expensive. Rather than simply renovating the existing location or addressing the underlying problems that had plagued the establishment, Fazbear Entertainment decided on a complete rebrand. They would close the old location, shelve the original animatronic characters that had become associated with tragedy and malfunction, and start fresh with a new building and an entirely new cast of performers. It was a calculated gamble, an attempt to distance the company from its dark past while capitalizing on whatever goodwill the Freddy Fazbear name still possessed. The investment was substantial, requiring new construction, new technology, and a comprehensive marketing campaign to convince the public that this Freddy Fazbear's Pizza was different, safer, and more entertaining than what had come before. The new Freddy Fazbear's Pizza that opened its doors in 1987 was indeed larger and more elaborate than its predecessor. The building itself was designed with families in mind, featuring bright colors, expansive dining areas, and multiple zones dedicated to different types of entertainment. The main stage remained the centerpiece, but now it was flanked by a prize corner where children could exchange tickets for toys, a sprawling game area filled with arcade cabinets and skill-based attractions, and a special section called Kids Cove, designed specifically for younger guests who might find the main show overwhelming. Every aspect of the new location was engineered to maximize both customer satisfaction and revenue, a delicate balance that Fazbear Entertainment hoped would restore the company's fortunes. The stars of this new establishment were the toy animatronics, a complete redesign of the classic characters. These weren't simply refurbished versions of the original performers. They were built from scratch with modern aesthetics and cutting-edge technology. Toy Freddy maintained the role of lead singer and frontman, but his design was rounder, more plastic in appearance, with brighter colors and a friendlier expression than his predecessor. His brown fur was shinier, almost glossy, and his accessories included a new black bow tie and top hat that gleamed under the stage lights. Toy Bonnie, the guitarist, underwent perhaps the most dramatic transformation. Where the original Bonnie had been purple or blue depending on the lighting, Toy Bonnie was a vibrant blue with green eyes and notably featured a more slender build that some employees joked made the character look almost feminine compared to the bulkier original design. Toy Chica took her place as the backup singer and the character most associated with the pizza restaurant's food service theme. Her design emphasized a more obviously feminine appearance with long eyelashes, a bib reading Let's Party, and notably, she was designed to hold a cupcake companion with its own animated eyes. The engineering team had programmed specific routines where Toy Chica would interact with her cupcake, creating what they hoped would be endearing moments for young audience members. What made Toy Chica particularly unsettling to the night staff, however, was her behavior after hours. When the restaurant closed and the animatronics entered their free-roaming mode, Toy Chica would remove her beak and eyes, leaving behind a hollow mechanical skull that was far more disturbing than anything the designers had intended for public viewing. Beyond the core trio on the main stage, the new location introduced several additional animatronic attractions. Mangle, originally known as Toy Foxy, was stationed in Kids Cove as an interactive attraction. The concept was innovative, but ultimately flawed. Children were encouraged to touch, play with, and even partially disassemble and reassemble Mangle as part of the interactive experience. The engineering team had designed the animatronic with magnetic joints and modular components to withstand this kind of handling. In practice, however, the constant dismantling took its toll. Kids were rougher than anticipated, pulling at limbs, yanking on wires, and generally treating the animatronic more like a jungle gym than a delicate piece of machinery. The maintenance staff found themselves reassembling Mangle so frequently that they eventually gave up trying to restore the animatronic to its original form. The name Mangle stuck, a reflection of the character's perpetually damaged state. What remained was a twisted amalgamation of metal, wires, and plastic, with a second head dangling from the main body, a result of children's rough play that the staff simply incorporated into the design. Balloon Boy, or BB as he was known to staff and regular customers, represented a different approach to animatronic entertainment. Rather than performing on stage, Balloon Boy was a smaller, child-sized animatronic stationed in the game area. His purpose was to greet children, hold balloons, and occasionally deliver pre-recorded messages encouraging kids to play games and have fun. His design was simpler than the main stage performers, with a red and blue striped shirt, a propeller cap, and a sign reading balloons that he held perpetually. His voice was high-pitched and enthusiastic, programmed to say phrases like hello and hi in a loop that employees found increasingly grating over the course of a shift. Despite his innocent appearance and seemingly harmless function, Balloon Boy would prove to be a significant problem for the night security staff, though for reasons that had nothing to do with physical threat. The most mysterious and significant addition to the new location was the puppet, also known as the marionette. This animatronic was unlike any other in the building. Housed in a large black and white striped box in the prize corner, the puppet was tall, thin, and unsettling in its design. Its face was a white mask with rosy cheeks, red lips stretched into a permanent smile, and purple tear-like streaks running down from its eyes. The animatronic moved with an unnatural fluidity, its limbs loose and dangling when inactive, but capable of smooth, almost graceful motions when animated. The puppet's containment system was unique. It remained inside its box as long as a music box mounted on the wall continued to play. The music box had to be wound regularly, a task that fell to the security staff during night shifts. If the music stopped, if the box was allowed to wind down completely, the puppet would emerge. The official explanation was that the puppet was programmed to give gifts and balloons to children, a benevolent function that justified its presence in the prize corner. The reality, as night guards would discover, was far more complex and threatening. The old animatronics from the previous location, the original Freddy, Bonnie, Chica, and Foxy, were not destroyed or discarded. Instead, they were kept in a back room, officially designated as a parts and service area. The reasoning was practical from a business perspective. These animatronics contained expensive components, servos, endoskeletons, and circuit boards that could be cannibalized for repairs if the new toy animatronics malfunctioned. The old characters sat in this back room in various states of disrepair, their once colorful exteriors now faded and stained, their movements stiff from lack of maintenance, and their presence a reminder of the restaurant's troubled history. Employees who had to enter the parts and service room for any reason reported feeling uncomfortable around the old animatronics. Even powered down and inactive, there was something wrong about them, something that went beyond their deteriorated physical condition. Among the new hires at this second Freddy Fazbear's Pizza location was a man who would become known throughout the company simply as Phone Guy. His real name was never recorded in the game's lore, but his role was crucial. Phone Guy worked in some capacity that gave him detailed knowledge of the restaurant's operations, the animatronics programming, and the various safety protocols that governed the establishment. He was tasked with creating a series of recorded phone messages that would serve as training materials for new security guards. These recordings were meant to be played during a new guard's first week on the job, providing guidance, warnings, and general information about how to survive the night shift. Phone Guy's tone in these recordings was friendly, almost casual, as he explained the various dangers and oddities of working overnight at Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. He had a tendency to downplay serious threats, to present potentially lethal situations as minor inconveniences, and to assure new employees that everything would probably be fine. This casual approach to workplace safety would become characteristic of Fazbear Entertainment's corporate culture. The toy animatronics were marketed as state-of-the-art entertainment technology, and in many ways, they were. One of their most advanced features was facial recognition software integrated into their visual sensors. This system was connected to a criminal database, theoretically allowing the animatronics to identify registered sex offenders or other individuals who might pose a threat to children. It was an ambitious security feature, one that Fazbear Entertainment highlighted in their marketing materials to reassure parents that this new location took child safety seriously. The system was supposed to work seamlessly in the background, with the animatronics subtly alerting staff if they detected someone in the database. In practice, the implementation was deeply flawed. The facial recognition software was experimental, prone to false positives, and apparently unable to distinguish between actual threats and innocent adults who happened to trigger whatever algorithmic criteria the system used for identification. This malfunction, if it was indeed a malfunction, manifested most dramatically in the animatronics' behavior toward adults, particularly the night security staff. The toy animatronics exhibited aggressive behavior after hours, treating the night guards as threats to be neutralized rather than employees to be ignored. They would leave their designated positions, roam the building, and actively seek out the security office where the guard was stationed. Their movements were purposeful and coordinated, suggesting some level of networked communication between the different animatronic units. Phone guys recorded messages attributed this behavior to the facial recognition system, suggesting that the animatronics were mistakenly identifying the night guards as criminals and responding accordingly. This explanation was convenient for Fazbear Entertainment, as it shifted blame from the animatronics' core programming to a specific fixable technical glitch. Whether this was the true cause of the aggressive behavior or simply a corporate cover story for something more sinister remained unclear. Into this dangerous and dysfunctional workplace came Jeremy Fitzgerald, hired as the new night guard for the second Freddy Fazbear's Pizza location. Jeremy's hiring was routine, the kind of low-wage, high-turnover position that Fazbear Entertainment had difficulty filling for obvious reasons. He began his first night shift with little preparation beyond phone guys' recorded messages, which played through the office telephone as Jeremy settled into his new role. The security office was small, claustrophobic even, with a desk, a fan, limited lighting, and most importantly, a network of security cameras that allowed the guard to monitor different areas of the restaurant. Jeremy also had access to a Freddy Fazbear mask, an empty animatronic head that previous guards had discovered could fool the roaming animatronics into thinking the wearer was one of them. As Jeremy progressed through his first week of night shifts, the situation deteriorated rapidly. The animatronics became increasingly active with each passing night, their movements more frequent and their approaches to the security office more aggressive. Toy Freddy, Toy Bonnie, and Toy Chica all left the main stage to hunt through the building. Mangle would crawl through the vents, its tangled body somehow navigating the narrow passages. Balloon Boy would disable the office lights, leaving Jeremy vulnerable. And always, constantly, there was the music box in the prize corner that had to be wound remotely through the camera system, because allowing it to stop meant releasing the puppet, and the puppet could not be fooled by the Freddy mask or deterred by any of the limited defenses available to the night guard. The older animatronics, those original characters from the first location now relegated to the back rooms and dubbed the withered animatronics by the staff, do not remain dormant. Despite their decrepit state, despite the missing facial components and exposed endoskeletons, these machines become active during the night shifts. Withered Freddy, Withered Bonnie, Withered Chica, and Withered Foxy all begin their own attempts to reach the security office where Jeremy sits. Their behavior mirrors that of the toy animatronics but carries with it an additional layer of menace. These are the original vessels, the ones that have been in service since the very beginning, and whatever drives them to hunt the night guard seems deeply ingrained in their programming, or perhaps something far less mechanical. The withered animatronics navigate through the building using the same vent system and hallways as their newer counterparts, creating a situation where Jeremy must monitor threats from multiple generations of animatronic technology simultaneously. The company's decision to keep these old models on the premises rather than properly disposing of them proves to be yet another dangerous cost-cutting measure. The withered animatronics lack the facial recognition technology of the toy models, operating on older, cruder systems that make their movements less predictable and somehow more threatening. Among all the animatronics in the building, one stands apart in terms of both importance and danger. The puppet, also known as the marionette, resides in a large musical box in the prize corner. This particular animatronic exhibits behavior that goes beyond the aggressive patterns of the others. The puppet is revealed to be highly active and intensely aggressive, but unlike the other animatronics, it can be temporarily placated through a specific mechanism. A music box in the prize corner must be wound constantly throughout the night to keep the puppet contained within its box. If the music box is allowed to run down completely, if the melody stops playing, the puppet will emerge. Once free, the puppet moves through the building with a determination that cannot be stopped by any of the security measures available to the night guard. It does not appear on cameras in the same way other animatronics do. It does not hesitate or get confused by the Freddy mask. When the puppet reaches the office, there is no defense, no trick, no strategy that can prevent what comes next. The music box therefore becomes Jeremy's most critical task, a constant demand on his attention that must be balanced against all the other threats he faces. The winding mechanism can be accessed remotely through the camera system, but it requires precious seconds of focus, seconds during which other animatronics may be advancing. The puppet's design is distinct from the other characters, tall and thin with a white face painted with simple features, purple tears streaming down its cheeks. Its movements are smooth and deliberate, almost floating, lacking the mechanical jerkiness of the other animatronics. There is something deeply wrong about the puppet, something that suggests its role in the story goes far beyond simply being another malfunctioning entertainment robot. In the main party room, another animatronic suffers from a unique problem. Mangle, the redesigned version of Foxy intended to appeal to younger children, exists in a state of permanent disrepair. Unlike the other toy animatronics that maintain their polished appearance, Mangle is a twisted mess of endoskeleton parts, wires, and shell fragments. The reason for this condition is documented by the staff. Mangle's erratic movements and broken state are a direct result of children constantly disassembling her. The animatronic was placed in Kids Cove as an interactive attraction, something children could take apart and put back together, a hands-on experience meant to engage curious young minds. However, the children proved too enthusiastic in their dismantling, and the staff grew tired of reassembling Mangle after every single party. Eventually, the employees simply gave up, leaving Mangle in whatever configuration the children had last created. The company, in a characteristic display of negligence, decided to rebrand this disaster as a feature, calling it a take-apart and put-back-together attraction. The result is an animatronic that barely resembles its original form, crawling along the ceiling and through the vents with exposed wires dangling, its second head, possibly a parrot or the original Foxy head, hanging loosely from the tangle of parts. Mangle emits a constant static noise, a garbled radio transmission that adds to the cacophony of sounds Jeremy must parse during his shifts. When Mangle attacks, it does so by dropping from the ceiling directly into the office, its broken form lunging at the night guard with a speed that belies its damaged state. Another threat comes in a deceptively innocent package. Balloon Boy, the small childlike animatronic who sits in the game area, seems harmless compared to the others. He does not attack directly. He does not attempt to stuff anyone into a suit. Instead, Balloon Boy employs a more insidious strategy. When he enters the office, which he does by traveling through the vents, Balloon Boy disables Jeremy's equipment. Specifically, he attempts to disable the flashlight and vent lights, the very tools Jeremy needs to ward off other animatronics and monitor the vent system. Once Balloon Boy succeeds in entering the office, he remains there, sitting in the corner, laughing his high-pitched childish laugh, holding his balloon and his balloons sign, while Jeremy is left vulnerable to every other threat in the building. Without the flashlight, Foxy cannot be deterred. Without the vent lights, Jeremy cannot see what is coming through the ventilation system. Balloon Boy does not need to attack because his presence ensures that something else will. The animatronic's cheerful appearance and voice lines, his repeated cries of hello and hi, create a disturbing contrast with the lethal situation his interference creates. Players and theorists have long debated whether Balloon Boy is possessed like the other animatronics or simply programmed with this obstructive behavior. But regardless of the answer, his role in the Night Guard's potential demise is undeniable. Despite all these threats, despite the toy animatronics, the withered animatronics, the puppet, Mangle, and Balloon Boy, Jeremy Fitzgerald manages to complete his fifth night. He survives the increasingly aggressive attacks, the overlapping threats, the constant juggling of the music box and the Freddy mask and the flashlight and the vent lights. His survival through 5 nights of this mechanical gauntlet is a testament to either remarkable skill or extraordinary luck. However, his completion of the 5th night does not lead to relief or safety. Instead, the situation at the restaurant deteriorates rapidly. The restaurant is put on lockdown due to an unspecified event. Phone Guy mentions this development in a message to Jeremy, explaining that the animatronics are acting aggressively toward the staff during the day, not just at night. Something has happened, something serious enough that the authorities or the company itself has decided to seal the building. The exact nature of this event remains deliberately vague in the official communications, described only as an incident. The lockdown suggests either a criminal investigation or an immediate safety concern, possibly related to the animatronic's increasingly dangerous behavior. The timing is significant. The lockdown occurs after Jeremy's 5th night, but before the restaurant's planned closure. During this period, the toy animatronics' facial recognition systems are mentioned as being responsible for their aggressive behavior, supposedly detecting criminals in the database and reacting accordingly. However, this explanation feels insufficient given the scope and nature of the animatronics' actions. Despite the lockdown, despite the obvious danger, Jeremy Fitzgerald is asked to work the day shift for a birthday party on his last day. Phone Guy delivers this news with his characteristic attempt at reassurance, suggesting that the day shift should be much easier, that Jeremy will get to meet the animatronics in their intended context, entertaining children. The request itself is bizarre given the circumstances. The restaurant is on lockdown due to animatronic aggression, yet a birthday party is still scheduled to proceed. The company's priorities become painfully clear in this decision. Revenue and maintaining appearances take precedence over employee safety or common sense. Jeremy, perhaps needing the money, perhaps feeling obligated, perhaps simply not understanding the full extent of the danger, agrees to work this final day shift. Meanwhile, another individual enters the story briefly. Fritz Smith is hired as the night guard for the 6th night, presumably to cover Jeremy's shift while Jeremy works the day party. Fritz's tenure with Fazbear Entertainment is remarkably short. He works a single night, the 6th night, facing the animatronics at their most aggressive setting. After completing this one shift, Fritz Smith is quickly fired for tampering with animatronics and odor. The official pink slip lists these 2 reasons for his termination. The tampering charge suggests Fritz attempted to access the animatronics programming or physical components, possibly trying to understand why they were so aggressive or perhaps trying to disable them for his own safety. The odor complaint is identical to one that will appear on other pink slips throughout the series. a recurring detail that has spawned numerous theories about the identity of these night guards and whether they might be the same person using different names. Fritz's immediate firing and the specific reasons given add another layer of mystery to the events of 1987. Some theorists suggest Fritz might be Michael Afton, using an alias, part of a larger pattern of Michael, working at various Freddy's locations under false names. The birthday party Jeremy is assigned to supervise becomes the site of the most infamous incident in the entire Five Nights at Freddy's timeline. Jeremy Fitzgerald is attacked in what becomes known as the Bite of 87. The attack is brutal and specific. Jeremy loses his frontal lobe, the portion of the brain responsible for decision-making, problem-solving, and aspects of personality. The injury is severe enough to be immediately noteworthy, severe enough that it becomes a defining moment for Fazbear Entertainment and the entire animatronic entertainment industry. Phone Guy will reference this incident in later games, mentioning it as a miracle that the victim survived without the frontal lobe. The phrasing suggests that while Jeremy lives through the attack, the quality of his survival is questionable. The loss of the frontal lobe would result in significant cognitive and behavioral changes, effectively making Jeremy a different person than he was before the bite. The bite of 87 occurs during the day, not during one of the night shifts that make up the gameplay. This timing is crucial. The attack happens during operating hours, likely at the birthday party Jeremy was supervising, in front of witnesses, possibly in front of children. The daytime occurrence makes the incident impossible for Fazbear Entertainment to hide or downplay. Parents were present, children saw it happen. The media would have covered it extensively. This public nature of the bite forces the company to take action in a way that the disappearances and night shift incidents never did. The identity of the animatronic responsible for the bite of 87 remains ambiguous, one of the franchise's most enduring debates. Several candidates exist, each with supporting evidence. Mangle is frequently cited due to her position on the ceiling, her exposed endoskeleton teeth, and her proximity to children in Kids Cove. A bite from above would align with frontal lobe damage. Toy Chica is another candidate, as her beak is removable and she exhibits aggressive behavior. Freddy himself cannot be ruled out, as the main character would likely be present at a birthday party. Even Foxy has been suggested, given his association with biting in various minigames. Scott Cawthon, the creator, has never definitively confirmed which animatronic was responsible, allowing the ambiguity to fuel discussion and theory crafting. What matters more than the specific culprit is the consequence. An animatronic bit a human being in public during the day, causing catastrophic injury. The restaurant is closed due to the incident. This closure is immediate and permanent for this location. The toy animatronics, those expensive new models with their advanced technology and child-friendly designs, are scrapped. Phone Guy mentions that the toy animatronics will be scrapped, possibly due to their facial recognition systems being deemed too dangerous or unreliable. The withered animatronics, however, are kept. Despite their age and condition, these original models will be refurbished for use in a future location. This decision reveals the company's priorities once again. The newer, more expensive models are disposed of, while the older, cheaper ones are retained and repaired. The scrapping of the toy animatronics means Toy, Freddy, Toy Bonnie, Toy Chica, and potentially Mangle are all destroyed. The puppet's fate during this closure remains unclear, though it will appear in future incidents. Fazbear Entertainment, despite this catastrophic failure, despite the bite of 87 and the missing children and the lockdown, does not dissolve. Instead, the company decides to open a smaller, more budget-friendly location in the future. This decision will lead directly to the events of the first Five Nights at Freddy's game, which, despite being the first game released, takes place chronologically after these 1987 events. The company's resilience in the face of tragedy and scandal is remarkable and disturbing. The bite of 87 should have ended Fazbear Entertainment permanently, but instead it merely forces a restructuring, a downsizing, a move to a cheaper venue with older equipment. The cycle continues. Following the mysterious closure of the second Freddy Fazbear's Pizza location, a period of relative quiet descended upon the franchise. For a time, it seemed the Fazbear Entertainment brand, plagued by tragedy and scandal, might finally fade into obscurity. However, in the early 1990s, a new attempt was made to revive the once-beloved family restaurant. This brings us to our fourth major timeline entry, the third Freddy Fazbear's Pizza location. This iteration, a desperate gamble to recapture past glory, would prove to be the most significant in terms of unraveling the dark secrets at the heart of the Fazbear legacy. Driven by a misguided sense of nostalgia or perhaps a severe lack of funding, Fazbear Entertainment opted for a controversial strategy. They reopened, not with new, shiny animatronics, but by reusing the original characters from the very first Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. This meant Freddy, Bonnie, Chica, and Foxy, the iconic quartet, were hauled out of storage along with the elusive Golden Freddy. But time had not been kind to these mechanical performers. They were in a severe state of disrepair, their once vibrant colors faded, their endoskeletons exposed in places, and their outer casings torn and tattered. These became known, fittingly, as the withered animatronics, a term that perfectly encapsulated their decrepit appearance and the lingering sense of unease they inspired. The decision to reestablish the brand using these decaying figures was perplexing. It suggested a company struggling to maintain its image and financial stability, clinging to the familiar, even as the familiar was literally falling apart. The hope, it seems, was to evoke a sense of tradition, to remind patrons of the simpler, happier days before the tragedies. But the reality was far grimmer. The withered animatronics, with their vacant stares and broken forms, were a stark reminder of everything that had gone wrong. They were less entertainers and more relics of a haunted past, a constant, unsettling presence in the new establishment. It was at this ill-fated location that the now iconic phone guy was employed. His role, as revealed through the chilling instructional messages he recorded, was to train future night guards. These recordings, which you, the player, will encounter in your own journey through the franchise, offer invaluable, albeit often misleading insights into the operational procedures and the increasingly dangerous nature of working at Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. Phone Guy's calm, almost eerily cheerful demeanor, even as he describes the animatronics' bizarre and aggressive behavior, serves as a chilling counterpoint to the escalating horror of the situation. He attempts to normalize the abnormal, to rationalize the inexplicable, painting a picture of a company in deep denial. The reason for the animatronics' aggressive behavior, a behavior Phone Guy so casually dismisses as quirks of their programming, lies at the very core of the Five Nights at Freddy's lore. The withered animatronics, despite their physical deterioration, were not merely broken machines. They were possessed by the spirits of the children murdered by William Afton back in 1985. These innocent souls, denied justice and trapped within their metallic prisons, sought vengeance. Their rage and sorrow manifested as a desperate, violent drive to confront and punish any adult who resembled their killer, particularly night guards who, to their distorted perception, were all potential threats. Freddy, Bonnie, Chica, and Foxy, once symbols of joy, were now instruments of a lingering spectral agony. Each animatronic carried the imprint of a lost life, their movements and actions driven by the raw, untamed emotions of the deceased children. The very air around them was thick with a palpable sense of injustice and a yearning for release. This possession explained why the animatronics exhibited such aggressive and unpredictable behavior, straying from their designated stages after hours. Their programming, if it even still functioned correctly, was overridden by the will of the spirits. They would actively attempt to attack the night guard, believing them to be William Afton, or at the very least, a complicit adult deserving of their wrath. The security measures in place, such as the limited power supply for doors and lights, were woefully inadequate against these supernatural entities. The animatronics' movements were not just random malfunctions. They were deliberate, calculated attempts to breach the office, to enact their terrible revenge. This made the night shift at Freddy Fazbear's Pizza less of a job and more of a survival horror game, long before the term was even coined. The psychological toll on any night guard, constantly under siege by these haunted figures, must have been immense. The very notion of working there, knowing the history, yet being forced to confront these vengeful spirits, painted a picture of desperation, both for the employees and for the struggling company. Unsurprisingly, the restaurant struggled immensely, both financially and with its already tarnished reputation. The decision to reuse the withered animatronics was a catastrophic miscalculation. Patrons, particularly children, found the dilapidated figures unsettling, even terrifying. The once cheerful atmosphere was replaced by an undercurrent of unease. Birthday parties, the bread and butter of such establishments, were likely few and far between. Word of mouth, fueled by the animatronics' creepy appearance and the lingering rumors of past disappearances, would have spread like wildfire, deterring potential customers. The company's attempts to reestablish the brand were failing spectacularly. The withered animatronics, far from being a nostalgic draw, were a visual representation of the franchise's decay, a constant reminder of its dark history. They were, quite simply, too scary for the target audience. Children cried, parents complained, and the general public began to view Freddy Fazbear's Pizza not as a place of fun, but as a place of lingering dread. The inevitable consequence of this failure was that the withered animatronics were eventually deemed too frightening and were decommissioned. This wasn't a sudden decision, but rather a slow, agonizing process as the company bled money and goodwill. The animatronics were likely relegated to a back room, perhaps even cannibalized for parts, as Fazbear Entertainment desperately tried to salvage something from the wreckage. This act of decommissioning, however, did not free the spirits trapped within. It merely confined them to a different, darker prison, their rage and sorrow festering in the shadows. The company's inability to understand the true nature of the problem, to recognize that these were not just faulty machines but haunted vessels, sealed their fate. They believed removing the animatronics would solve the problem, when in reality, it only delayed the inevitable confrontation. With the animatronics decommissioned and the financial losses mounting, the restaurant was finally scheduled to close permanently. This closure was not just due to financial difficulties, but also crucially due to overwhelming safety concerns. The incidents involving the animatronics, even if downplayed by the company, would have been impossible to ignore. The public perception, the complaints, and the sheer creepiness of the place had reached a tipping point. The dream of reviving Freddy Fazbear's Pizza had officially died, leaving behind only a derelict building and a legacy of terror. The third Freddy Fazbear's Pizza location, intended as a phoenix rising from the ashes, instead became another tombstone in the franchise's graveyard of failed ventures. The building, once filled with the imagined laughter of children, now stood silent, a monument to corporate hubris and unresolved tragedy. The final closure was a quiet whimper, not a bang, but its implications would echo loudly in the years to come. It was into this abandoned, decaying shell of a restaurant that William Afton, now widely known by his chilling moniker, Purple Guy, returned. His motivations for revisiting the scene of so much suffering were not driven by nostalgia or regret, but by a twisted, malevolent purpose. Afton, the architect of so much pain, was not content to let the spirits of his victims rest. He knew they were still bound to the animatronics, still seeking their vengeance. His goal was to destroy the animatronics and, by extension, to destroy the spirits of the children he had murdered. This was not an act of repentance, but of final cruelty, a desperate attempt to erase the evidence of his crimes and silence the lingering echoes of his victims. He sought to sever the connection between the children and their metallic prisons, believing that by destroying the vessels, he could finally achieve peace from their haunting presence. This act was a culmination of his depravity, a final chilling chapter in his reign of terror. Systematically, Afton began to dismantle Freddy, Bonnie, Chica, and Foxy. He moved through the darkened, silent restaurant, a ghost in the machine, methodically tearing apart the very creations he had helped bring to life. Each blow, each wrench of metal, was a symbolic act of violence against the innocent souls trapped within. He wasn't just breaking machines, he was attempting to break the spirits themselves, to scatter their essence into nothingness. The scene would have been one of utter desolation, the once lively animatronics reduced to piles of wires, plastic, and metal. Afton's actions were deliberate, precise, fueled by a cold, calculating malice. He stripped away their outer casings, tore at their internal wiring, rendering them utterly inert. He was eradicating the last vestiges of their existence, or so he believed. However, Afton's understanding of the supernatural was deeply flawed. His act of destruction, far from silencing the spirits, had the opposite effect. As he systematically dismantled Freddy, Bonnie, Chica, and Foxy, the spirits of the murdered children were released from the animatronics. This was not the end he envisioned, but a terrifying liberation. The children, no longer bound to the decaying machines, were free, but their rage, their sorrow, and their desire for revenge remained. They were now disembodied spectral entities, their power amplified by their release. This pivotal moment marked a significant shift in the timeline, transforming the nature of the haunting. The spirits, once confined, were now unbound, their presence more potent and dangerous than ever before. Afton had inadvertently unleashed a new, more terrifying phase of the haunting, one that would directly lead to his own gruesome demise. His attempt to destroy the evidence only served to empower his victims, setting the stage for a confrontation that would forever alter the course of the Five Nights at Freddy's narrative. The children's spirits, now free from their animatronic prisons, finally confront William Afton. Their ethereal forms, flickering with spectral energy, corner him within the darkened corridors of Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. This is the culmination of years of torment, the spectral reckoning for the lives he so cruelly extinguished. Afton, a man who had always believed himself to be in control, a master manipulator, is suddenly faced with the terrifying reality of his actions. His carefully constructed facade crumbles under the weight of their silent, accusatory gazes. Panic, a raw and visceral fear he rarely allowed himself to feel, surges through him. He scrambles, desperate to escape the vengeful apparitions, his mind racing for any possible sanctuary. His eyes dart around the familiar, yet now menacing, restaurant. He remembers a place, a hidden area, a secret. He bolts towards the safe room, a forgotten corner of the building designed to be invisible to security cameras and inaccessible to customers. This room, a relic from the restaurant's earlier iterations, was intended as a secure storage space for valuable equipment and as a panic room for employees during emergencies. Its very existence was a closely guarded secret, a fact Afton now hopes will be his salvation. He bursts through the hidden doorway, slamming it shut behind him, convinced that the thick walls and absence from surveillance will shield him from the spectral children. He believes he has outsmarted them once again, slipping into the shadows just as he always had. Within the suffocating darkness of the safe room, Afton stumbles upon a discarded animatronic suit. It is Spring Bonnie, one of the original animatronics from Fredbear's family diner, left to rot in this forgotten space. The suit, once a vibrant golden yellow, is now faded and grime-covered, its metallic parts showing visible signs of rust and neglect. Its empty eye sockets stare blankly, a silent testament to the passage of time and the obsolescence of its design. Afton, in his desperate state, sees not a decaying relic, but a potential shield, a way to blend in, to become one of them, or perhaps to simply appear less human, less vulnerable. He believes that by donning the suit, he can deceive the spirits, make himself invisible to their vengeful eyes, or at the very least, deter them from their pursuit. He is convinced that the children, having been trapped within animatronics themselves, would not recognize him if he were inside one. With a mixture of frantic haste and grim determination, Afton begins to don the Spring Bonnie suit. The mechanisms, designed for quick donning and doffing by employees, are stiff and resistant after years of disuse. He struggles with the heavy headpiece, the rigid limbs, forcing himself into the cold, metallic shell. He imagines the spirits outside pressing against the safe room door, their silent fury palpable, even through the thick walls. His breath comes in ragged gasps as he finally manages to secure the last of the springlocks, the intricate internal mechanisms that hold the suit's animatronic parts compressed against the outer shell, allowing a human to wear it. He feels a perverse sense of triumph, a momentary reprieve from the terror. He is safe, he thinks, hidden within the metallic shell, protected from the vengeful spirits. However, Afton's self-assuredness is tragically misplaced. The Spring Bonnie suit, like all Springlock animatronics, relies on a delicate and precise system of internal mechanisms. These mechanisms, designed to retract the animatronic's endoskeleton parts to make space for a human wearer, are incredibly sensitive to moisture and sudden movements. The safe room, having been sealed off for years, is damp and unventilated. The air is thick with the smell of mildew and decay. The springlocks, already old and deteriorated from lack of maintenance, have been further compromised by the pervasive moisture. Rust has begun to corrode their delicate springs, weakening their tension and making them dangerously unstable. The suit, once a marvel of engineering, is now a death trap waiting to be sprung. Afton, still filled with a twisted sense of victory and relief, lets out a triumphant, if somewhat manic, laugh. The sound, amplified and distorted by the suit's internal cavity, echoes eerily in the confined space. This sudden burst of sound, combined with his frantic movements as he adjusted himself within the suit, proves to be his undoing. The delicate balance of the Springlock mechanisms is irrevocably disturbed. With a series of sickening clicks and groans, the internal mechanisms begin to fail. The rusted springs give way, one after another, unable to withstand the sudden stress. The compressed animatronic parts held back for so long violently snap back into their original positions. The internal mechanisms of the Spring Bonnie suit collapse and impale William Afton. Razor-sharp metal rods, gears, and wires tear through his flesh, piercing his organs, breaking his bones. The springlocks, designed to hold the animatronic's endoskeleton in place, now act as instruments of excruciating torture. Each retraction of a spring, each snap of a mechanism, drives another piece of metal deeper into his body. The pain is unimaginable, a searing agony that eclipses any fear he had previously felt. He screams, a guttural primal sound of pure suffering, but the sound is muffled and distorted by the suit, trapped within the metallic shell. Afton suffers a slow and agonizing death inside the suit. The process is not instantaneous. The springlocks continue to shift and grind, each movement causing fresh waves of unimaginable pain. Blood, warm and viscous, begins to fill the suit, mixing with the rust and grime. His vision blurs, his breath becomes shallow and ragged. He is conscious through much of it, forced to endure the horrific consequences of his own cruelty. The irony is not lost on him, even in his dying moments. He, the architect of so much suffering, is now trapped within his own macabre creation, a victim of the very technology he once controlled. His life, a tapestry woven with threads of malice and murder, ends in a slow, agonizing descent into darkness, sealed within the cold embrace of the Spring Bonnie suit. Outside the safe room, the spirits of the children, drawn by Afton's screams, gather. They hear his suffering, sense his demise. They witness the final, horrific moments of their tormentor. There is no triumph in their observation, no exultation, only a profound sense of closure. Their purpose, the driving force behind their spectral existence, has been fulfilled. Their killer has met his end, trapped within the very symbol of his crimes. As Afton's struggles cease and the last echoes of his screams fade, a calm descends upon the children's spirits. The burning desire for vengeance, which had tethered them to this mortal plane, finally dissipates. One by one, their flickering forms grow fainter, their spectral energy dispersing into the ether. They are finally free, finally at peace, their innocent souls released from the earthly confines that had bound them for so long. With Afton's death and the children's spirits finally at rest, the safe room, now a tomb, is sealed off. The hidden entrance, once a secret sanctuary, is permanently secured, its existence forgotten over time. The restaurant's management, likely unaware of the gruesome events that transpired within its hidden walls, simply bricked it up, perhaps to cover a structural flaw or to simply eliminate a forgotten storage space. The safe room, with its unspeakable contents, becomes a forgotten secret within a forgotten building. Following the tragic events and the persistent rumors of hauntings, the Freddy Fazbear's pizza location closes permanently. The restaurant, which had already struggled with declining popularity and negative publicity, cannot recover from the latest wave of incidents. The animatronics, once the stars of the show, are left to rot on the stage and in storage rooms. Their vibrant colors fade, their internal mechanisms seize up, and their once cheerful expressions become unsettling masks of decay. Dust settles on their plastic shells, cobwebs drape over their limbs, and the silence of abandonment fills the once lively establishment. The dream of Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, a dream built on faulty foundations and stained by tragedy, finally comes to an end. The Spring Bonnie suit, now containing William Afton's decomposing corpse, is left in the sealed safe room. It becomes a macabre monument to his depravity, a permanent reminder of his final, agonizing moments. Over the years, the suit and its ghastly occupant are slowly consumed by the relentless march of time. The metallic parts rust further, the fabric tears, and the once recognizable form of Spring Bonnie becomes a grotesque shell, fused with the skeletal remains of its wearer. The Safe Room, a forgotten mausoleum, holds its dark secret within the decaying walls of the abandoned restaurant. Over the next 30 years, the abandoned building slowly deteriorates. Nature reclaims what man has forsaken. Weeds grow through cracks in the pavement, windows shatter, and the roof begins to sag. The once vibrant colors of the restaurant's exterior fade into a dull, peeling grime. Inside, dust and debris accumulate, creating a thick layer over everything. The air is heavy with the smell of decay and dampness. The animatronics left in their positions become ghostly figures in the perpetual twilight of the derelict building, silent witnesses to the passage of time. The building stands as a decaying monument to a forgotten era, a silent testament to the dark history it conceals, waiting for the day its secrets will inevitably be unearthed. Having explored the tragic conclusion of the original Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, we now fast forward to the year 2023, a considerable leap in time, where a new, macabre chapter in the Fazbear legacy begins. This is the era of Fazbear's Fright, the horror attraction, a place born from morbid curiosity and a desire to profit from past tragedies. In 2023, the urban legends surrounding Freddy Fazbear's Pizza have taken on a life of their own, growing into a pervasive cultural phenomenon. The stories of missing children, haunted animatronics, and the mysterious closures of multiple pizzerias have captivated the public imagination, transforming the once-beloved children's entertainment brand into a chilling tale of horror. Sensing an opportunity to capitalize on this macabre fascination, a group of entrepreneurs decides to construct a horror attraction. Their vision is to create an immersive experience that brings these terrifying legends to life, drawing in thrill seekers eager to confront the dark history of Freddy Fazbear's. This attraction, aptly named Fazbear's Fright, is designed to be a terrifying tribute to the franchise's dark past, a place where visitors can experience the true horror of Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. To achieve this, the owners of Fazbear's Fright embark on an ambitious scavenger hunt, actively seeking out and acquiring artifacts from the abandoned Freddy Fazbear's Pizza locations. Their goal is to authenticate the experience, to fill their attraction with genuine relics that have been touched by the very events they aim to recreate. They scour the derelict buildings, rummaging through the decaying remnants of what were once vibrant, if ill-fated, entertainment establishments. This salvage operation is extensive, involving the painstaking removal of anything that could lend an air of authenticity to their horror attraction. Among the salvaged items are old animatronic parts, rusted and broken, bearing the scars of years of neglect and, perhaps, something far more sinister. These pieces, once part of the cheerful performers that entertain children, now serve as grim reminders of the past. They also unearth faded drawings, childish scribbles that hint at the innocence that was lost, and arcade machines, their screens dark and their mechanisms seized, silent witnesses to countless birthdays and untold horrors. Each artifact is carefully cataloged and transported to the new attraction, destined to become part of the macabre tableau of Fazbear's Fright. The owners believe that by surrounding their guests with these tangible links to the past, they can create an unparalleled horror experience, one that blurs the line between fiction and reality. However, their most significant and undoubtedly most terrifying discovery occurs in a hidden room at the very first Freddy Fazbear's Pizza location. This room, bricked up and forgotten for decades, holds a dark secret. During the salvage operations, as workers meticulously dismantle the old building, they stumble upon this concealed chamber. Inside, they find a decaying animatronic suit, withered and broken, its once vibrant yellow gold now faded and stained. This is Springtrap, and within its mechanical shell lies the reanimated corpse of William Afton, the co-founder of Fazbear Entertainment and the notorious child murderer Purple Guy. The discovery of Springtrap is a pivotal moment, though its full implications are not immediately understood by the salvage crew. They see only a particularly gruesome and well-preserved animatronic, a perfect centerpiece for their horror attraction. Unbeknownst to them, they have unearthed the very source of the tragedies they are attempting to exploit. William Afton, trapped within the spring Bonnie suit after the events at Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, the first location after the MCI, has been lying dormant for 30 years, his spirit clinging to his decaying body, sustained by the agony of his victims and the lingering power of Remnant. The moisture and decay within the sealed room had triggered the suit's spring locks, impaling him and effectively making him one with the animatronic. Now, disturbed from his long slumber, he is once again active, his malevolent spirit eager to continue its reign of terror. Springtrap, containing the reanimated corpse of William Afton, is brought to the Fazbear's Fright attraction. He is placed among the other salvaged relics, intended to be a static display, a terrifying prop to enhance the ambiance of the horror house. The owners believe they have found the ultimate scare, an authentic, terrifying animatronic that embodies the dark legends. They are oblivious to the fact that they have brought a living, breathing, and deeply malevolent entity into their carefully constructed house of horrors. Springtrap is not merely a prop, he is a predator, and the attraction, with its limited security and unsuspecting staff, is his new hunting ground. As the grand opening of Fazbear's Fright approaches, a new employee is hired as the night guard. This individual is tasked with monitoring the facility during the late hours, ensuring everything is in order and that no vandals or curious trespassers attempt to break in. To acclimate the new guard to the attraction's concept and history, an unseen employee, referred to as the attraction's phone guy, distinct from the original phone guy from the Freddy Fazbear's pizza locations, leaves daily messages. These messages serve as both an introduction to the attraction and a subtle, almost ominous foreshadowing of the horrors to come. The phone guy's recordings detail the owner's vision for Fazbear's Fright, explaining their efforts to gather authentic artifacts and create a truly immersive experience. He recounts the urban legends and tragedies that inspired the attraction, inadvertently providing a chilling backdrop to the night guard's lonely shifts. He speaks of the real history, the missing children, and the haunted animatronics, all while the night guard sits in a dimly lit office surrounded by the very relics of those dark tales. These messages, initially informative, gradually take on a more unsettling tone as the nights progress, hinting at the true nature of the attractions within the building. The night guard begins their shift at Fazbear's Fright, settling into the familiar routine of monitoring security cameras and maintaining the facility. However, this is no ordinary security job. The air within Fazbear's Fright is thick with an oppressive atmosphere, a palpable sense of dread that permeates every corner of the building. The salvaged animatronic parts, once benign, now seem to watch from the shadows, their vacant eyes hinting at untold horrors. The night guard's task is to monitor the facility and its animatronics, which, in this context, primarily means keeping an eye on the salvage props and ensuring no damage occurs. Little do they know, one of these props is very much alive and has a terrifying agenda. Almost immediately, the true horror of Fazbear's Fright reveals itself. Springtrap, once a static display, begins to move. His decaying form, animated by the malevolent spirit of William Afton, stalks the darkened halls of the attraction. He actively hunts the night guard, his movements slow and deliberate, but relentlessly focused. Springtrap's objective is clear: to reach the office, to confront and eliminate the guard, perhaps to relive his past atrocities, or simply to satisfy the insatiable hunger of the remnant that binds him to this world. The guard's primary defense is to monitor Springtrap's movements through the security cameras and use audio cues to lure him away from the office, a desperate game of cat and mouse played out in the decaying corridors of the horror attraction. The whirring of the ventilation system, the flickering of the lights, and the distant, unsettling sounds of Springtrap's movements create an atmosphere of constant terror, pushing the night guard to their limits. As if the threat of Springtrap weren't enough, the night guard is also tormented by the phantom animatronics. These are not physical entities, but rather terrifying hallucinations, manifestations of the trauma and despair that saturate Fazbear's Fright. They appear as burnt and decaying versions of classic animatronics from the Freddy Fazbear's Pizza franchise, their forms distorted and horrifying. These phantom animatronics haunt the attraction, appearing suddenly in the camera feeds, in the ventilation shafts, or even directly in the office, causing jump scares and system errors that disrupt the night guard's ability to monitor the facility. Their purpose is not to physically harm the guard, but to disorient, frighten, and distract, making the real threat of Springtrap even more potent. The roster of phantom animatronics includes several familiar, yet terrifyingly altered faces. There is Phantom Freddy, a charred and skeletal version of the beloved bear, whose slow, shambling approach from the hallway is a precursor to a terrifying jump scare. Phantom Chica, her once cheerful yellow form, now a grotesque, burnt green, appears in the office doorway, her presence causing system malfunctions. Phantom Foxy, a mangled and decaying fox, often appears unexpectedly in the office, his sudden appearance a jolt of pure terror. Phantom Balloon Boy, a sinister, grinning figure, appears on the camera monitors, his presence often leading to a ventilation error. Phantom Mangle, a twisted mass of wires and endoskeleton parts, hangs from the ceiling in the camera feeds, its distorted voice a cacophony of static and screams. And finally, Phantom Puppet, a spectral, burnt version of the marionette, appears directly in the office, its silent, menacing presence leading to prolonged system outages. Each phantom animatronic serves to heighten the sense of dread, to erode the night guard's sanity, and to pave the way for Springtrap's relentless pursuit. The attraction, designed to be a simulation of horror, has become a very real nightmare, where the line between reality and hallucination blurs, and the past refuses to stay buried. The phantom animatronics, spectral apparitions of the franchise's past, are not merely jump scares for the player's benefit. Within the game's narrative, their sudden appearances and terrifying shrieks actively sabotage the attraction's fragile systems. Each phantom jump scare can trigger a critical system error, disabling either the ventilation, audio, or camera feeds. This isn't just an inconvenience, it's a deliberate mechanic designed to amplify the horror and vulnerability of the night guard. Without proper ventilation, the office quickly fills with smoke, blurring vision and making it difficult to discern threats. A disabled audio system means the night guard loses the crucial ability to hear Springtrap's movements, a vital clue for tracking his position. And without cameras, the night guard is effectively blind, unable to monitor Springtrap's approach through the labyrinthine halls of Fazbear's Fright. These system failures are not random. They are direct consequences of the phantom animatronics' ghostly attacks, each one a calculated move to disorient and weaken the night guard. making them an easier target for the real threat lurking in the shadows, Springtrap. To survive each harrowing night, the Night Guard must meticulously manage these three critical systems: ventilation, audio, and cameras. The tablet, a central tool in the game, allows for constant monitoring and immediate repairs. A flickering ventilation icon demands immediate attention, as does a crackling audio feed or a static-filled camera display. Failing to address these errors promptly can lead to catastrophic consequences. The ventilation system, in particular, is a constant battle. If it fails for too long, the office will become too smoky, leading to a game over. This constant juggling act, a frantic dance between monitoring Springtrap's movements and repairing essential systems, creates a palpable sense of pressure and urgency. The Night Guard is not merely observing, they are actively engaged in a desperate struggle for survival, their attention constantly divided between immediate threats and deteriorating infrastructure. The game masterfully uses these mechanics to simulate the overwhelming stress of being trapped in a decaying horror attraction with a murderous animatronic. One of the Night Guard's few offensive tools against Springtrap is the audio lure. By playing a child's voice through the attraction speakers, the Night Guard can exploit Springtrap's enduring connection to his past victims. This sound, a poignant echo of the children he murdered, draws Springtrap towards its source, momentarily distracting him and pulling him away from the office. This strategic use of audio becomes paramount in later nights, as Springtrap becomes more aggressive and cunning. The Night Guard must anticipate his movements, predict his likely path, and deploy the audio lure effectively to create diversions. Misplacing an audio lure or using it at the wrong time can have dire consequences, potentially drawing Springtrap closer instead of farther away. This mechanic adds a layer of tactical depth to the gameplay, transforming the Night Guard from a passive observer into an active manipulator of their environment, albeit with limited resources. It highlights Springtrap's tragic and terrifying nature, forever bound to the echoes of his past atrocities. After each night of terror, the Night Guard experiences disturbing minigames. These aren't just bonus content, they are crucial narrative devices, offering profound insights into the dark history of Freddy Fazbear's Pizza and the enduring torment of the murdered children's souls. These 8-bit, retro-styled minigames depict the spectral forms of the children, their eyes hollow, their movements deliberate, as they seek their ultimate revenge on William Afton. Each minigame is a fragmented memory, a ghostly reenactment of past events, revealing the children's unwavering determination to find justice. They show the children, once innocent victims, now empowered spirits, actively pursuing their killer. These sequences are somber and poignant, a stark reminder of the tragic events that underpin the entire franchise. They serve as a bridge between the present horrors of Fazbear's Fright and the foundational tragedies of Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, demonstrating that the past is far from buried. These minigames culminate in a pivotal series of events, depicting the spirits cornering William Afton within the safe room of Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. This is the moment of reckoning, the long-awaited confrontation. The minigames show the children's spirits, no longer passive victims, actively pursuing Afton. Cornered and desperate, Afton, in a moment of panic and foolish bravado, dons the Spring Bonnie suit, believing it will protect him from the vengeful spirits. He laughs maniacally, mocking his victims even in his final moments. However, the suit, long disused and in disrepair, is a death trap. The moisture in the room, combined with Afton's frantic movements and perhaps even the children's spectral interference, causes the spring locks to fail catastrophically. The internal mechanisms designed to hold the animatronic parts back snap shut, piercing Afton's flesh and bone. The minigames depict his agonizing demise, a slow and excruciating transformation into Springtrap. This is not just a gruesome death, it is a poetic justice, a direct consequence of his heinous actions orchestrated by the very souls he sought to silence. The minigames are explicit in showing the children's role in this event, their presence a catalyst for the Springlock failure, ensuring their tormentor meets a fitting end. The minigames ultimately lead to what is known as the happiest day ending. This is a moment of profound emotional release and symbolic closure within the lore. After witnessing William Afton's agonizing demise, the spirits of the murdered children, represented by the iconic animatronic masks, Freddy, Bonnie, Chica, Foxy, and the puppet, gather around a birthday cake. One by one, their masks fall away, symbolizing the release of their earthly burdens and the final liberation of their souls. This sequence, imbued with a bittersweet melancholy, suggests that the children have finally found peace after years of restless torment. The happiest day is not a literal event occurring within the game's present timeline, but rather a symbolic representation of the children's souls finally moving on, their revenge exacted and their suffering ended. It offers a glimmer of hope amidst the pervasive darkness of the franchise, suggesting that even in death, justice can prevail and peace can be found. This ending is a powerful emotional beat, providing a sense of closure for the victims and a momentary respite from the franchise's relentless horror. It implies that with Afton's demise, the children's spirits are no longer bound to their animatronic prisons, their long vigil finally over. Despite the relentless horror and the constant threat of Springtrap, the Night Guard miraculously survives 5 nights at Fazbear's Fright. This feat of endurance is a testament to their resilience, quick thinking, and perhaps a touch of sheer luck. Each night presents escalating challenges, with Springtrap becoming more aggressive and the phantom animatronics more frequent in their attacks. The Night Guard navigates the decaying attraction, repairing systems, luring Springtrap away, and narrowly escaping his deadly clutches. Surviving these 5 nights is a significant achievement within the game's narrative, marking the Night Guard as a particularly adept individual capable of enduring extreme psychological and physical pressure. Their survival underscores the player's skill and strategic prowess, showcasing their ability to master the complex mechanics and overcome the terrifying obstacles presented by Fazbear's Fright. It also sets the stage for the dramatic conclusion of this particular chapter in the timeline, as the attraction's fate is sealed on the final night. However, the Night Guard's survival is only a temporary reprieve. On the 6th night, a catastrophic event unfolds. The already dilapidated Fazbear's Fright, a building teetering on the brink of collapse, experiences critical system failures that spiral out of control. The attraction, a monument to past tragedies and a breeding ground for new horrors, finally succumbs to its own inherent instability. A fire breaks out, its origins ambiguous but its consequences devastating. Perhaps it was a faulty wire, a gas leak, or even the culmination of the phantom animatronics' constant sabotage. The flames rapidly engulf the building, consuming the flimsy walls and igniting the flammable artifacts. The fire is depicted as a raging inferno, a destructive force that seemingly purges the attraction of its dark history. The inferno rages throughout the night, reducing the entire structure to a charred husk. This fiery destruction serves as a dramatic and definitive end to Fazbear's Fright, a place that was always destined for ruin. The attraction burns down completely, seemingly destroying Springtrap and all the remaining artifacts. The fire is portrayed as a cleansing force, a final act of destruction that eradicates the physical remnants of Freddy Fazbear's Pizza's dark past. The animatronics, the props, the old arcade machines, and even the very walls that held so much misery are all reduced to ash and rubble. It appears to be a definitive end for Springtrap, the embodiment of William Afton's evil. The fire seems to consume him entirely, leaving no trace of the monstrous animatronic that terrorized the Night Guard. This apparent destruction offers a sense of finality, suggesting that the nightmare is finally over, that the cycle of violence and torment has been broken. The image of the burning building, a silhouette against the night sky, is a powerful visual, symbolizing the eradication of a dark chapter in the franchise's history. However, the narrative of Five Nights at Freddy's is rarely so straightforward. A newspaper clipping appearing after the fire and the apparent destruction of Fazbear's Fright reveals a chilling twist. The article, reporting on the devastating blaze, mentions that while the attraction was largely destroyed, some artifacts were salvaged from the wreckage. Crucially, it states that these salvaged items, including a burnt animatronic, were put up for auction. This single detail shatters the illusion of finality. The burnt animatronic can be none other than Springtrap, proving that William Afton, even in his grotesque, decaying form, is incredibly resilient. The newspaper clipping serves as a powerful cliffhanger, confirming that the nightmare is far from over. It establishes that Springtrap, despite enduring a fiery inferno, has survived and is now once again loose in the world, his malevolent presence still a threat. This twist ensures that the legacy of William Afton will continue to haunt the timeline, setting the stage for future horrors and reinforcing the idea that true evil is incredibly difficult to eradicate. The auction of these artifacts also hints at their continued significance, suggesting that they hold a dark allure for collectors or those who seek to exploit the franchise's grim history. The fire, rather than being an end, becomes merely another chapter in Springtrap's terrifying saga, a temporary setback for an entity seemingly incapable of being destroyed. Following the fiery conclusion of Fazbear's Fright in the year 2023, a new chapter in this tragic saga begins, one orchestrated by a man driven by grief and a thirst for finality. This is the era of Freddy Fazbear's Pizza Place, often referred to as Pizzeria Simulator, a meticulously crafted trap designed to end the cycle of suffering once and for all. Henry Emily, the brilliant co-founder of Fazbear Entertainment and the father of the murdered Charlotte Emily, emerges from the shadows with a chillingly precise plan. His objective is clear: to lure and permanently destroy all the animatronics possessed by the vengeful spirits, including his former business partner, William Afton. To achieve this, Henry designs a new pizzeria, not as a place of joy and entertainment, but as an elaborate inferno. He creates Fazbear Entertainment's Pizza Place as a seemingly innocuous front, a seemingly legitimate business opportunity for an unsuspecting franchisee. However, every aspect of this establishment, from its structural design to its operational protocols, is engineered for a singular, destructive purpose. The pizzeria itself is a marvel of sinister engineering. Henry, with his profound understanding of animatronic behavior and the supernatural forces at play, incorporates specific ventilation and audio systems into the building. These systems are not for the comfort of customers or the efficiency of the kitchen. Instead, they are finely tuned to attract the very animatronics Henry seeks to ensnare. The ventilation ducts are wide and accessible, allowing for easy ingress and egress of the larger, more damaged animatronics. The audio systems emit specific frequencies and sound patterns, carefully calculated to draw in the sentient machines, almost like a siren's call to their metallic ears. This meticulous design ensures that once the animatronics are within the pizzeria's confines, they will be unable to escape the predetermined fate awaiting them. To set his trap, Henry places advertisements for a new Freddy Fazbear's Pizza location, a seemingly innocent call for a new entrepreneur to revive the beloved, if cursed, franchise. These advertisements are designed to be appealing, offering a chance to be part of a legacy, a fresh start. But the true target of these ads is not a wide swathe of potential business owners. Henry knows exactly who he needs to recruit for his plan to succeed. Enter Michael Afton, William's son, a man who has endured unimaginable trauma and has dedicated his existence to undoing his father's monstrous legacy. Michael, having survived the horrors of Sister Location and his own decaying existence as a walking corpse, is the perfect, unwitting pawn in Henry's grand scheme. He answers the advertisement, perhaps drawn by the familiar name, or perhaps guided by a deeper, almost instinctual pull towards the lingering darkness of his family's past. Michael is hired as the franchisee, entrusted with the daily operations and maintenance of this new, seemingly innocent pizzeria. He becomes the manager, overseeing the seemingly mundane tasks of running a family entertainment establishment, all while unknowingly playing a crucial role in Henry's elaborate, final act. As part of his duties, Michael is tasked with salvaging animatronics found in the alley behind the pizzeria. This is where the true nature of Henry's trap begins to unfurl. The alley serves as the primary ingress point for the target animatronics, drawn in by Henry's carefully designed systems. Each night, Michael must venture into the shadowy alley, where he encounters the dilapidated, often terrifying remnants of Fazbear Entertainment's past. The process of salvaging involves a series of auditory tests and careful observation, with Michael needing to document the animatronics' reactions to various stimuli. This seemingly bureaucratic task is, in fact, a critical step in Henry's plan, confirming the presence and identity of the animatronics before they are brought into the pizzeria proper. The first animatronic Michael often encounters and salvages is Scrap Baby. This is Elizabeth Afton, Michael's sister, now trapped within the mangled, battle-scarred shell of Circus Baby, her once innocent voice replaced by a sinister, distorted echo. Scrap Baby, still retaining a semblance of her manipulative programming, attempts to trick Michael during the salvage process. She speaks to him, her voice a chilling blend of childlike innocence and malevolent intent, trying to persuade him to let her go, to believe her false promises. She might claim to be lost or in need of help, playing on any lingering familial affection Michael might possess. However, Henry's instructions are clear. All animatronics found must be salvaged. This is not a moral dilemma for Michael in the traditional sense, but rather a test of his adherence to the established protocol. He must decide whether to salvage or throw out each animatronic, a decision that, unbeknownst to him, is already predetermined by Henry's overarching strategy. Throwing them out would jeopardize the entire plan, allowing the spirits to escape and continue their reign of terror. Henry's plan requires the salvage of every single one. Following Scrap Baby, Michael encounters and salvages Molten Freddy. This grotesque amalgamation is the terrifying evolution of Enard, the collective consciousness of the Funtime animatronics from Sister Location. After being expelled from Circus Baby, who decided to go solo, Molten Freddy is a tangled mess of wires, circuits, and endoskeleton parts, a writhing, sentient mass of metal. It represents the lingering consciousness of Funtime Freddy, Funtime Foxy, and Ballora, all fused into one monstrous entity. Its presence in the alley is a testament to the enduring nature of the animatronics' artificial intelligence and the spirits that possess them. Salvaging Molten Freddy is a particularly unsettling experience, as its fragmented consciousness and aggressive nature make it a dangerous, unpredictable foe. Yet, Michael, driven by his commitment to the task, proceeds, bringing this twisted creation into the pizzeria's controlled environment. Then comes Springtrap, now heavily damaged and referred to as Scrap Trap. This is William Afton himself, his body still fused within the decaying Spring Bonnie suit, a grotesque monument to his own hubris and evil. After the fire at Fazbear's Fright, Springtrap was severely burned and damaged, his once menacing form now even more horrifying in its disrepair. His presence in the alley signifies the enduring evil that Henry seeks to eradicate. Salvaging Scrap Trap is perhaps the most critical step in Henry's plan, as it brings the primary antagonist, the architect of all the suffering, directly into the trap. Michael, facing his own monstrous father in this dilapidated form, must maintain his composure and follow Henry's instructions, ensuring that William is securely contained within the pizzeria. Finally, Lefty is acquired and salvaged. Lefty, an animatronic specifically designed by Henry himself, is not an accidental discovery in the alley like the others. Lefty's acquisition is a deliberate and crucial part of Henry's strategy. This animatronic, deceptively simple in its appearance, was crafted with one singular purpose: to capture and contain the puppet spirit. The puppet, possessed by Henry's daughter Charlotte, has been a protector and a source of sorrow throughout the timeline. Henry, understanding the puppet's nature and its desire to protect, designed Lefty with specific auditory lures and internal mechanisms to draw in and permanently trap Charlotte's spirit. The process of acquiring Lefty often involves purchasing it through the in-game catalog, a seemingly mundane transaction that belies the profound significance of its purpose. Once acquired, Lefty, with Charlotte's spirit now contained within, is also salvaged, brought into the pizzeria, completing the collection of spirits Henry intends to destroy. the stage is now set for Henry's final devastating act, with all the key players, both victims and perpetrators, gathered under one roof. The intricate web of suffering continued to tighten, as the puppet's spirit, the tormented soul of Charlie Emily, found its new chilling prison within the Lefty animatronic. This sophisticated capture device, designed by Henry himself, now held the very essence of his daughter, a tragic irony that underscored the depths of his despair and his desperate resolve. With Lefty now containing the puppet, the stage was set for Henry's final, audacious act of liberation. All the remaining haunted animatronics, the physical manifestations of decades of agony and vengeance, were now gathered. There was Springtrap, or rather, his more decayed and menacing iteration, Scraptrap, the embodiment of William Afton's undying malevolence. Then came Molten Freddy, the grotesque amalgamation of the Funtime animatronics, a writhing mass of wires and endoskeletons that once formed a nard, now driven by a singular, insatiable hunger. Scrap Baby, the fragmented remains of Circus Baby, still bore the chilling echoes of Elizabeth Afton's lost innocence and her father's manipulative influence. And finally, Lefty, the dark, silent sentinel, now housed the very soul Henry sought to free, a silent testament to the suffering that had permeated every corner of this dark saga. Henry, the architect of this elaborate trap, meticulously monitored the progress of his son, Michael Afton, who, under the guise of managing the newly established Freddy Fazbear's pizza place, was unknowingly serving as the bait. Henry's advanced surveillance systems and carefully placed audio lures ensured that all the targeted animatronics, drawn by the promise of new victims and the familiar scent of agony, would converge within the pizzeria's walls. He watched, a silent, grieving observer, as Michael, still bearing the scars of his past encounters, navigated the treacherous nights. The animatronics, driven by their ingrained programming and the restless spirits within them, made their relentless attempts to attack Michael during the night shifts. Scraptrap, fueled by William's twisted desire for immortality and revenge, stalked the vents, his decaying form a macabre echo of his past atrocities. Molten Freddy, a tangled mass of wires, would emerge from the darkness, its multiple eyes glowing with malevolent intent, its very presence a testament to the fractured consciousness of its constituent parts. Scrap Baby, with her clawed hand and broken facade, would taunt and threaten, her childlike voice now distorted by years of corruption. And Lefty, the silent hunter, would slowly advance, its single glowing eye a chilling beacon of Charlie's trapped spirit, a constant reminder of the profound tragedy that had set all these events in motion. Yet, despite the overwhelming odds and the constant peril, Michael, with a resilience born of years of torment and a grim determination to atone for his father's sins, survived 5 nights. He diligently managed the pizzeria, fending off the animatronic attacks, his every action a testament to his unwavering commitment to his father's last, desperate plea. Each successful night brought Henry closer to his ultimate goal, each passing hour a delicate balance between Michael's survival and the animatronic's capture. As the final night drew to a close, and with all the targeted animatronics successfully contained within the pizzeria, Henry initiated the culmination of his plan. He delivered a pre-recorded message, a somber, resonant monologue designed to be heard by both Michael and the trapped animatronics. His voice, filled with a profound weariness and an unshakable resolve, echoed through the ventilation systems, reaching every corner of the establishment. In this poignant address, Henry revealed his true intention: to end the cycle of suffering, to finally free the tormented souls that had been bound to these mechanical shells for decades. He spoke of the lure of the labyrinth, the endless trap of violence and revenge that had consumed so many lives, and his determination to break it. His message then turned directly to William Afton, his former business partner, his voice laced with a bitter condemnation. Henry recounted William's heinous acts, the senseless murders, the destruction of innocent lives, and the profound grief he had inflicted upon so many families, including his own. He spoke of William's insatiable thirst for power and control, his twisted fascination with life and death, and how these obsessions had led to an unimaginable amount of pain. Henry's words were not merely an accusation, but a final, definitive judgment, a declaration that William's reign of terror was finally, irrevocably over. He acknowledged the profound irony of William's current predicament, trapped within a decaying animatronic, a victim of his own creations, a prisoner in the very nightmare he had meticulously constructed. Then, Henry's tone softened slightly as he addressed Michael, his voice imbued with a quiet pride and a deep understanding. He acknowledged Michael's bravery, his unwavering sacrifice, his long and arduous journey through the darkness. Henry recognized the immense burden Michael had carried, the thankless task of confronting his father's legacy, and the profound personal cost of his actions. He expressed his gratitude for Michael's willingness to walk into this final, fiery trap, to play his part in this grand, tragic finale. He spoke of Michael's unique position, having endured so much, having witnessed the full extent of his father's depravity, and yet still choosing to stand against it, to seek a form of redemption that was perhaps impossible for anyone else. Henry's words were a testament to the complex, often fractured bond between father and son, a recognition of Michael's inherent goodness despite the darkness that surrounded him. With his message delivered, Henry initiated the final, irreversible phase of his plan. He set the pizzeria ablaze, a purifying inferno intended to consume everything within its walls. The flames, a symbol of both destruction and renewal, began to engulf the building, their hungry tongues licking at the walls, the furniture, and the animatronics themselves. This was not merely an act of arson, but a ritual of liberation, a desperate attempt to sever the spiritual ties that bound the souls to their mechanical prisons. Henry's intention was clear: to free all the trapped souls, to end the cycle of violence and revenge that had plagued their lives for so long. The fire was meant to be a final, definitive act of catharsis, a cleansing flame that would purify the tainted legacy of Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. As the inferno raged, the ventilation systems were sealed, ensuring there would be no escape for the animatronics, no last-minute reprieve from the consuming flames. Henry had meticulously planned every detail, every contingency, leaving nothing to chance. He understood that to truly end the suffering, all avenues of escape, all possibilities of recurrence had to be eliminated. The sealed vents became a symbol of the finality of his plan, a grim promise that this time there would be no coming back, no last-minute resurrection of the horrors that had haunted them for so long. One by one, all the animatronics, the physical vessels of so much pain and anger, were consumed by the fire. William Afton, in his decrepit Scraptrap form, met his end in the blaze, his evil finally extinguished, his twisted legacy reduced to ash. Scrap Baby, the fragmented remains of Elizabeth, was likewise consumed, her tormented spirit hopefully finding peace in the inferno. Molten Freddy, the tangled mass of wires and souls, was melted down, its fractured consciousness finally silenced. And Lefty, containing the puppet, the spirit of Charlie Emily, was also engulfed, her long-suffering spirit finally released from its metallic cage. The screams of the animatronics, a cacophony of metal and agony, echoed through the burning building, a final, chilling symphony to the end of an era. Henry's plan, born of profound grief and an unshakable sense of justice, culminated in the destruction of the haunted animatronics and the apparent end of the Afton and Emily saga. The fire, a symbol of both vengeance and purification, had seemingly consumed all the tangible remnants of their intertwined tragedies. The burning pizzeria became a monument to their shared suffering, a pyre that promised to finally lay to rest the ghosts of the past. For Henry, this was the ultimate sacrifice, a final act of love and despair, a desperate gamble to bring peace to those he had lost and to prevent further suffering. The smoke rising from the ashes carried with it the hopes of a future free from the shadow of Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, a future where the souls could finally rest, and the cycle of violence could finally be broken. This was the end, or so it seemed, of a chapter drenched in blood and tears, a final, fiery curtain call for the characters who had been trapped in this horrific play for far too long. Following the cataclysmic events of the Pizzeria Simulator fire, a new and profoundly disturbing chapter unfolds in the Five Nights at Freddy saga, one that transcends the physical realm and delves into the very nature of retribution. We now arrive at the era of Ultimate Custom Night, a period that, within the in-universe chronology, occurs immediately after the Pizzeria Simulator, serving as a chilling epilogue to William Afton's earthly reign of terror. This isn't a physical location or a tangible event in the traditional sense, but rather a personalized purgatory, a torment crafted specifically for the architect of so much suffering. William Afton's soul, unable to find peace or escape the karmic repercussions of his horrific deeds, becomes ensnared in this nightmarish dimension. It is a spiritual prison, a personalized hell where he is condemned to relive the terror he inflicted upon countless others, but this time, he is the victim. The very animatronics he designed, built, and manipulated to carry out his dark desires, or those possessed by the innocent souls he extinguished, are now his tormentors. This isn't a random or chaotic descent into madness, however. This purgatorial state is meticulously orchestrated, a deliberate act of vengeance carried out by a powerful, unseen entity. The identity of this orchestrator is heavily implied to be none other than Cassidy, the vengeful spirit of Golden Freddy. Cassidy, one of William Afton's earliest victims, murdered during the infamous missing children incident at Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, has long been a spectral presence, a silent observer, and a harbinger of dread. Her motivation is clear and unwavering, an insatiable desire for revenge against William Afton for her brutal murder. Unlike the other spirits who, after the Pizzeria Simulator fire, might have found some semblance of peace, Cassidy's rage burns brighter, her connection to Afton a tether that binds them both to this cycle of suffering. The vengeful spirit, referenced in various in-game clues and external materials, including the Fazbear Fright stories which often parallel main game lore, points directly to Cassidy as the architect of this eternal torment. Her refusal to let Afton move on, to allow him the release of death, is the driving force behind Ultimate Custom Night. She seeks not just his death, but his endless suffering, a mirroring of the fear and pain she experienced at his hands. The setting for this unimaginable torment is not a single location, but a distorted, nightmarish amalgamation of Freddy Fazbear's pizza establishments. It's a fever dream of familiar corridors, flickering lights, and the ever-present stench of stale pizza and fear. Elements from various locations, from the original Freddy Fazbear's to Circus Baby's entertainment and rental, seem to bleed into one another, creating a disorienting and inescapable labyrinth. The iconic office, a staple of the Five Nights at Freddy's gameplay, is reimagined here as the focal point of Afton's suffering. It is a claustrophobic space, a cage from which there is no escape, surrounded by monitors displaying the impending threats and vents leading directly into his personal hell. The familiar sounds of whirring servos, distorted laughter, and chilling static are amplified, designed to chip away at his sanity, pushing him further into despair. This isn't a physical building that can be burned down or abandoned. It is a mental prison, constructed from the very fabric of Afton's guilt and Cassidy's wrath. Within this personalized purgatory, William Afton is forced to endure endless nights. The sun never rises, the clock never truly reaches 6 a.m., and the terror is perpetual. He is condemned to relive the terrifying experience of being hunted by animatronics, a cruel irony given his past. Each night is a desperate struggle for survival, a futile attempt to fend off the relentless onslaught of mechanical horrors. This is not a game for Afton. It is his eternal punishment. The fear he instilled in his victims, the panic he observed as they desperately tried to survive, is now his own reality. He is the night guard, the helpless prey, trapped in a cycle of terror with no end in sight. The very mechanics of the game, where the player, representing Afton, must manage power, close doors, and monitor cameras, are a direct reflection of the torment he faces. Every jump scare, every near miss, every moment of creeping dread is a visceral reminder of his past actions, amplified and turned against him. The sheer scale of this torment is staggering. William Afton is confronted by over 50 animatronic characters, a veritable rogues gallery of his creations and his victims. This includes animatronics he personally designed and built, such as the various iterations of Freddy, Bonnie, Chica, and Foxy, as well as the more advanced Funtime animatronics like Circus Baby and Funtime Freddy. But he is also tormented by those possessed by the spirits of his victims, like the original Freddy Fazbear, Bonnie the Bunny, Chica the Chicken, Foxy the Pirate Fox, and of course, Golden Freddy himself, or rather, herself, in the form of Cassidy's vengeful spirit. The inclusion of characters like the puppet, possessed by Henry's daughter Charlie, further emphasizes the breadth of his crimes and the multitude of souls he wronged. Even animatronics that he didn't directly create but were part of the Fazbear entertainment legacy, such as Toy Freddy, Mangle and Balloon Boy, are weaponized against him, serving as instruments of his eternal suffering. Each character represents a different facet of his past, a different sin, a different victim. The sheer number of animatronics ensures that there is no respite, no moment of peace. The constant threat, the diverse attack patterns, and the overwhelming sense of being outnumbered contribute to the psychological torture. These animatronics, far from being mindless machines, exhibit unique behaviors and attack patterns that reflect their in-universe personalities, and, in many cases, their methods of death. For instance, Foxy, known for his speed, will sprint down the hall, requiring quick reflexes to shut the door. Chica, with her affinity for the kitchen, will make noise, drawing attention and disrupting the monitoring process. The puppet, a guardian of the children, will only emerge if the music box isn't wound, symbolizing the neglect and abandonment that led to Charlie's demise. Nightmare Fredbear and Nightmare, embodiments of fear and psychological torment, will appear when least expected, their horrifying visages a constant reminder of Afton's own monstrous nature. Springtrap, the very suit that became Afton's tomb, is also present, a grotesque reflection of his physical demise now turned against his spiritual essence. Even seemingly innocuous characters like Balloon Boy and JJ, known for their irritating laughter and ability to disable lights, become potent tools of psychological warfare, chipping away at Afton's resolve. Each animatronics mechanic is a carefully crafted piece of the puzzle, designed to exploit a different vulnerability, to trigger a specific fear, or to evoke a particular memory of his past atrocities. The torment is not random. It is tailored, precise, and utterly inescapable. This endless nightmarish realm, however, is not without its own enigmatic figures. Within this digital torment, we encounter Old Man Consequences, a pixelated red alligator fishing in a tranquil, almost idyllic pond. He appears to be an observer, perhaps even a guide within this purgatorial landscape. His presence is a stark contrast to the relentless horror, a momentary pause in the cacophony of suffering. Old Man Consequences offers a cryptic but profound piece of advice to a character implied to be Cassidy, the vengeful spirit at the core of William's suffering. He urges this spirit to leave the demon to his demons and to find peace, suggesting an escape, a cessation of the torment. This counsel implies that the cycle of revenge, while seemingly justified, ultimately traps both the tormentor and the tormented. It's a moment of potential release, a path to true rest for Cassidy. Despite this sage advice, Cassidy, the spirit of the fifth child murdered by William Afton at Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, and the one whose spirit is believed to be possessing Golden Freddy, seemingly chooses to continue William's torment. The sheer depth of her rage, the unforgivable nature of William's crimes, and the profound injustice of her untimely death all coalesce into an unyielding resolve. Her decision to forgo peace and persist in her torment of William speaks volumes about the depth of her suffering and her unwavering commitment to justice, however twisted it may become within this digital hellscape. The implication is that her pain is so immense, her desire for retribution so absolute, that even the promise of her own peace is secondary to ensuring William's eternal agony. She is not merely seeking revenge, she is enacting a form of cosmic justice, ensuring that the architect of her suffering experiences a fraction of the terror he inflicted upon so many. Consequently, William's experience in Ultimate Custom Night is a never-ending nightmare, a macabre tapestry woven from the threads of his past victims and the animatronic creations that served as his instruments of terror. Every animatronic, from the seemingly innocuous toy Freddy to the terrifying nightmare Fredbear, is a manifestation of his past sins, a constant reminder of the lives he destroyed and the horror he unleashed. Each jump scare, each taunt, each simulated death is a personalized punishment, meticulously crafted to exploit his deepest fears and force him to relive the consequences of his actions. He is trapped in a loop of suffering, forced to confront the monstrous reflections of his own depravity. The animatronics are not just physical threats, they are psychological weapons, each bearing the weight of a child's lost innocence, a parent's grief, and a community's trauma. The sheer variety of animatronics, each with unique attack patterns and dialogue, ensures that the torment is never monotonous, never predictable, always fresh and agonizing. This digital purgatory is designed to ensure that William Afton is unable to truly die or escape this cycle of torment. Even when he is theoretically killed by an animatronic within the game, he merely resets, the nightmare beginning anew. There is no final death, no release, no oblivion. This perpetual cycle is the ultimate punishment for a man who, for so long, evaded justice and seemed to cheat death itself. His previous escapes, his ability to return even after seemingly being destroyed, are now turned against him. He is immortalized in suffering, a prisoner in his own mind, forced to confront the spectral echoes of his victims for all eternity. The very essence of his being, twisted by his heinous acts, is now condemned to this unending retribution. The digital nature of this purgatory allows for this infinite loop, a realm where the rules of life and death are suspended, replaced by the relentless will of a vengeful spirit. His consciousness, fragmented and tortured, is held captive, unable to find solace or oblivion. The vengeful spirit dialogue lines within Ultimate Custom Night are particularly chilling and directly address William, leaving no doubt as to the identity of his tormentor and the reason for his suffering. Lines such as, "I am remade, but not by you, by the one you should not have killed," are a direct indictment, a stark reminder of his crimes. This specific line, delivered with an unsettling calm, implies a transformation, a re-emergence of the spirit, but one born not of William's control or design, but from the profound injustice of his actions. It highlights the agency of the victim, their ability to transcend their physical demise and exact a spiritual retribution. The one you should not have killed unequivocally points to Cassidy, the child whose life was unjustly taken, whose spirit refuses to rest until true justice is served. These lines are not mere threats, they are declarations of intent, pronouncements of an eternal sentence. Further reinforcing Cassidy's presence and unwavering intent are the recurring "it's me" and "I will never let you rest" messages. "It's me," a phrase famously associated with Golden Freddy throughout the franchise, is a direct personal address, a chilling reminder to William of the specific victim who now holds him captive. It's a taunt, a declaration of identity, and a profound statement of continued existence. "I will never let you rest" is the ultimate expression of Cassidy's resolve, a promise of unending torment. It signifies an absolute commitment to ensuring William's suffering, a refusal to grant him the peace he denied to so many. These messages are not just spoken, they are woven into the very fabric of the nightmare, appearing as visual glitches, auditory whispers, and thematic undercurrents, ensuring William can never truly escape the knowledge of who is behind his suffering. They are psychological warfare, designed to break his spirit and ensure his eternal agony. Ultimately, this purgatory, the realm of Ultimate Custom Night, serves as a form of divine or supernatural justice for William's atrocities. It is a punishment that transcends the physical realm, operating on a spiritual and psychological level. It is a consequence not imposed by human law, but by a higher, perhaps cosmic, order that demands retribution for such profound evil. The suffering inflicted upon William is a direct reflection of the suffering he caused, a mirror held up to his own monstrous deeds. It is a testament to the idea that some crimes are so heinous that they demand an eternal reckoning, a justice that extends beyond the grave. The digital nature of this realm allows for a perfect personalized hell, where every sin is met with a meticulously crafted punishment. It is the universe's way of balancing the scales, ensuring that the architect of so much pain ultimately experiences an infinite amount of it. This eternal torment is not just revenge, it is the ultimate consequence, a final, unyielding judgment upon a soul utterly consumed by darkness. The very fabric of this digital prison is woven from the screams of his victims, the tears of their families, and the shattered innocence he left in his wake, ensuring that his punishment is as profound and eternal as his crimes. Following the devastating fire at Freddy Fazbear's Pizza Place, an event orchestrated by Henry Emily to finally end the cycle of tragedy, a new chapter in the Fazbear Entertainment saga began. This brings us to the 8th major entry on our timeline and the first part of our exploration into a pivotal new era, Five Nights at Freddy's VR Help Wanted. This period, occurring after the events of Pizzeria Simulator but before the futuristic landscape of Security Breach, marks a significant shift in both the narrative and the very medium through which the story is told. In a desperate and frankly audacious attempt to salvage its utterly ruined public image, Fazbear Entertainment decides to embrace the burgeoning world of virtual reality. Their strategy was audacious in its simplicity, yet profoundly dangerous in its execution. The company, having been plagued by decades of horrific incidents, child disappearances, and rampant rumors of haunted animatronics, sought to rewrite its own history. They commissioned a new VR game, a project intended to be the ultimate PR stunt, designed to debunk all the persistent, unsettling rumors that had long tarnished their brand. The goal was to paint a picture of a company that was simply misunderstood, a victim of urban legends and overactive imaginations. This ambitious virtual reality project, aptly titled Help Wanted, was developed by an external studio, Steel Wool Studios. Their task was to create an immersive experience that would, ironically, simulate the very horrors Fazbear Entertainment wished to disavow. The game was marketed with a heavy emphasis on presenting the true story of Fazbear Entertainment, framing the previous tragedies as fabrications, exaggerations, or simply unfortunate accidents. The VR experience would allow players to interact with virtual versions of the infamous animatronics and locations, supposedly proving that there was nothing supernatural about them. It was a cynical, corporate attempt to control the narrative, to sanitize their dark past and present a new, family-friendly facade. However, in a catastrophic oversight, or perhaps a deliberate act of digital archaeology, a digital consciousness of William Afton, the serial killer at the heart of the entire Freddy Fazbear nightmare, was inadvertently uploaded into the game. This malevolent entity, which would come to be known as Glitchtrap, was not some new AI or a clever programming trick. Its genesis was far more insidious. During the development of Help Wanted, Steel Wool Studios, in an effort to accurately recreate the Fazbear experience, scanned old circuit boards from various Fazbear Entertainment properties. These circuit boards, containing fragments of data and code from previous animatronics and systems, unknowingly held a piece of William Afton's digital soul. The exact mechanism of this transfer remains somewhat nebulous, but the implication is clear. Afton's consciousness, or at least a powerful digital echo of it, had survived the fire at Freddy Fazbear's Pizza Place, clinging to the very technology he had once used to commit his atrocities. Glitchtrap initially manifested as a glitching, humanoid rabbit costume within the game's code. Its appearance was unsettling, a distorted, purple-tinged figure that would flicker in and out of existence, a digital phantom haunting the virtual halls of Freddy Fazbear's. This form was not accidental. It was a twisted homage to Afton's past, specifically his spring Bonnie suit, the very costume he used to lure children to their deaths, and later, his own demise. The glitchy nature served as a chilling visual cue, signaling its anomalous presence within the otherwise carefully constructed game world. It was a bug, a virus, a digital ghost in the machine. The first victim of Glitchtrap's insidious influence was the game's beta tester, a man named Jeremy. As Jeremy spent more and more time immersed in the virtual world of Help Wanted, Glitchtrap began to exert its control. The game, intended to be a benign simulation, became a digital prison for Jeremy's mind. He started experiencing disturbing hallucinations, waking nightmares that blurred the lines between the virtual and the real. The psychological toll was immense, as Glitchtrap slowly chipped away at his sanity. The culmination of this torment was horrific. Jeremy, driven to a breaking point by the entity's influence, ended up cutting off his own face with a paper trimmer. This gruesome act served as a stark warning, a chilling testament to Glitchtrap's power and its ability to transcend the digital realm, impacting the physical world in the most brutal ways imaginable. With Jeremy's incapacitation, Glitchtrap's influence within the game intensified. It began to subtly, and then not so subtly, manipulate the game's code, altering textures, sounds, and even the behavior of the animatronics. The game, initially designed to be a controlled experience, became a playground for Glitchtrap's malevolence. It sought to corrupt the very fabric of the virtual reality, turning it into a tool for its own nefarious purposes. This manipulation extended to the player's perception, creating an environment of unease and psychological terror that went beyond the intended jump scares. This is where the player character, a new beta tester, steps in. You, the player, are introduced to the game's various levels and animatronics, unaware of the lurking digital horror. The game presents itself as a series of mini-games, each replicating iconic scenarios from the Fazbear Entertainment lore. You navigate through the dark corridors of Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, repair malfunctioning animatronics in the parts and service room, and survive the night shifts, all while Glitchtrap observes, manipulates, and slowly tightens its digital grip. The initial experience is one of controlled fear, but as you progress, the subtle anomalies begin to appear. The glitches become more pronounced, and the unsettling presence of Glitchtrap becomes increasingly apparent. Glitchtrap's ultimate goal, however, was not merely to haunt the game. Its ambition was far grander, to escape the digital confines of Help Wanted and possess a new host in the real world. This host, it turns out, was the player character themselves, a young woman named Vanny. Glitchtrap saw in Vanny a malleable mind, a potential vessel through which it could once again wreak havoc in the physical realm. The entity's manipulations became more direct, its appearances more frequent, as it attempted to break down Vanny's mental defenses and integrate itself into her consciousness. This digital possession was a new frontier for William Afton, a terrifying evolution of his malevolence, allowing him to bypass the limitations of a decaying physical body and continue his reign of terror through a new, unsuspecting puppet. As the player navigates the increasingly corrupted game world, they also discover a series of 16 hidden tapes. These tapes, left by a previous developer known only as Tape Girl, serve as a crucial narrative device, unraveling the true nature of Glitchtrap and the sinister events unfolding within Help Wanted. Tape Girl, having witnessed the horrifying effects of Glitchtrap firsthand, tried to warn others, leaving behind cryptic messages and instructions on how to contain the digital entity. Her recordings provide vital exposition, detailing the accidental upload of Glitchtrap, its growing influence, and the tragic fate of Jeremy. These tapes are not just collectibles, they are a desperate plea for help, a breadcrumb trail leading to the truth behind Fazbear Entertainment's latest and perhaps most dangerous blunder. The collection of these tapes becomes a meta-narrative, a narrative within the narrative, revealing the true horror that lies beneath the surface of the seemingly innocent VR game. The implications of Glitchtrap's presence are profound. It signifies that William Afton, the architect of so much suffering, has found a new way to persist, to continue his dark legacy even after his physical demise. The digital realm, once thought to be a safe space, has become his new hunting ground, and the unsuspecting players of Help Wanted are his prey. The game, intended to erase the past, has instead resurrected its most terrifying demon, setting the stage for a new era of fear and manipulation within the Five Nights at Freddy's universe. This virtual reality experience, designed to be a corporate cover-up, has instead become the conduit for a new, digital form of evil, one that threatens to spill out of the game and into the real world. The urgency in her voice escalated as she began to instruct the player on a desperate last-ditch effort, how to potentially contain or even merge with Glitchtrap. This was not a simple task. It was a digital ritual, a perilous gambit within the game's code. Tape Girl's instructions were fragmented, delivered in a hushed, almost panicked tone, hinting at the immense danger involved. She spoke of specific sequences, of interacting with certain objects in a particular order, all designed to either trap Glitchtrap within the digital confines of the game, or more disturbingly, to allow the player's consciousness to merge with a malicious entity. This merging, she implied, would be a form of self-sacrifice, a way to neutralize Glitchtrap by absorbing him into a host that could then be isolated or deleted. The implications were chilling. The player was being asked to become a digital prison, or worse, to become one with the very evil they were fighting. This was the birth of what the community would later dub the Afton virus, or Malhair, a digital manifestation of William Afton's consciousness, now free to infect and corrupt. As Glitchtrap's influence grew, the animatronics within the Help Wanted game began to exhibit increasingly aggressive and erratic behavior. This wasn't merely a difficulty spike, it was a tangible representation of the virus's insidious spread. The usually predictable patterns of Freddy, Bonnie, Chica, and Foxy became more unpredictable, their movements faster, their jump scares more sudden and brutal. Even the seemingly innocuous plush babies in the dark rooms levels, which were initially just environmental hazards, took on a more menacing aspect, their glowing eyes following the player with an almost predatory intensity. This heightened aggression served as a constant reminder of Glitchtrap's permeating presence, a digital infection that was twisting the very fabric of the game world. It was a clear indication that the benign facade of the Fazbear Entertainment VR experience was crumbling under the weight of this digital malevolence. Amidst the growing terror, the player could occasionally discover a peculiar plush baby doll. This wasn't just another collectible, it was a direct conduit, a manifestation point that Glitchtrap used to communicate or even partially project himself into the player's reality within the game. The plush baby, with its unnervingly large, unblinking eyes, would sometimes appear in unexpected locations, its presence accompanied by a subtle shift in the game's atmosphere. A feeling of being watched, interacting with it, or sometimes simply being in its vicinity, would trigger distorted audio snippets, whispers that seemed to emanate from Glitchtrap himself, taunting the player, urging them closer to his influence. These moments were crucial, as they provided direct, albeit unsettling, confirmation of Glitchtrap's awareness and his active manipulation of the game's environment. The plush baby became a symbol of his insidious reach, a seemingly innocent toy twisted into a tool of psychological warfare. The narrative of Help Wanted culminates in several potential endings, each with profound implications for the future of the Five Nights at Freddy's universe. In one of the most chilling and impactful conclusions, Glitchtrap successfully achieves his goal. He possesses the player. This ending, often referred to as the Vanny ending or good ending by some, sees the player, after meticulously following Tape Girl's instructions to merge with Glitchtrap, succumbing to his digital assimilation. The screen distorts, the player's perspective shifts, and a new, unsettling reality takes hold. The player's body, now a vessel for Glitchtrap, is seen from a third-person perspective, clad in a white rabbit costume with patchwork stitching and eerie red eyes. This is the birth of Vanny, a new antagonist, a human puppet under Glitchtrap's complete control. The final shot of this ending is particularly disturbing. Vanny, now fully subservient, is shown bowing reverently to Glitchtrap, who stands triumphantly on a stage, his digital form radiating malevolence. This moment solidifies Vanny's role as Glitchtrap's loyal disciple, ready to carry out his dark bidding in the real world. This ending is not merely a game over, it is a catastrophic turning point, demonstrating Glitchtrap's ultimate victory in securing a physical presence. The implications are dire. Glitchtrap, through Vanny, now has a tangible means to inflict harm outside the digital realm, a terrifying prospect that sets the stage for future horrors. The player's agency is completely stripped away, replaced by the sinister will of William Afton. This transformation marks a new chapter in the saga, one where the digital threat of Glitchtrap transcends its virtual confines and manifests in the physical world through Vanny. However, there is an alternative ending, one that offers a glimmer of hope, albeit a temporary one. In this scenario, often called the bad ending or Princess Quest ending by some, the player manages to follow Tape Girl's instructions to a different conclusion, trapping Glitchtrap within a plushie. This ending is achieved by collecting all the hidden tapes and then activating a specific sequence within the game's final levels. As the player navigates through the corrupted digital landscape, they encounter Glitchtrap in his full, imposing form. Instead of merging, the player successfully performs a digital exorcism, containing Glitchtrap's essence within a small, seemingly innocuous Freddy Fazbear plushie. The final scene shows the plushie, now imbued with Glitchtrap's malevolent presence, sitting inertly on a virtual shelf. While this ending suggests a temporary containment, it doesn't imply Glitchtrap's complete destruction. The entity is merely imprisoned, a ticking time bomb waiting for an opportunity to escape. This ambiguity leaves the player with a sense of unease, understanding that while they may have won this battle, the war is far from over. The plushie, a seemingly harmless object, now holds the potential for unimaginable terror, a constant reminder of Glitchtrap's enduring threat. This ending serves as a crucial counterpoint to the Vanny ending, demonstrating that while Glitchtrap can be contained, his eradication remains elusive. The choice between these two endings and their respective implications highlights the player's agency within the narrative, even if that agency is ultimately limited by Glitchtrap's overarching power. Regardless of which ending the player experiences, the events of Five Nights at Freddy's VR, Help Wanted, unequivocally set the stage for Glitchtrap's continued influence outside the VR world. The game serves as the bridge between the digital realm and the physical, demonstrating how a malevolent digital entity can transcend its virtual confines. Even in the plushie containment ending, the implication is that Glitchtrap's essence is merely trapped, not destroyed, and could potentially escape or be released. This lingering threat ensures that the terror of William Afton, now in his digital form, is far from over. The very existence of the Help Wanted game, designed to rehabilitate Fazbear Entertainment's image, ironically becomes the catalyst for a new wave of horror. The game's success, in terms of its reach and the number of players it attracts, inadvertently provides Glitchtrap with a vast pool of potential victims and, more importantly, potential hosts. The narrative carefully establishes that Glitchtrap is not merely an in-game antagonist. He is a persistent, evolving threat that has found a new medium to continue his reign of terror. This transition from a physical killer to a digital virus marks a significant evolution in the franchise's lore, expanding the scope of its horror beyond the confines of animatronic suits and haunted locations. The most terrifying consequence of Help Wanted, particularly in the Vanny ending, is the emergence of Vanny, now a fully possessed human agent under Glitchtrap's control. Her transformation from an innocent beta tester to a loyal follower of Glitchtrap is a chilling testament to his insidious power. With Vanny as his puppet, Glitchtrap now possesses a tangible means to carry out his bidding in the real world. This is not merely a digital threat anymore. It is a flesh and blood danger. Vanny, armed with Glitchtrap's malevolent guidance and her own twisted obedience, is poised to become the new face of terror. Her actions, driven by Glitchtrap's will undoubtedly involve luring new victims, continuing the cycle of violence and death that William Afton so gleefully initiated. The game concludes with the ominous understanding that Vanny is now a free agent, operating outside the virtual confines of Help Wanted, ready to execute Glitchtrap's sinister plans. Her white rabbit costume, a grotesque mimicry of Glitchtrap's own digital form, serves as a chilling symbol of her new identity and allegiance. The stage is set for a new era of fear, one where the digital ghost of William Afton has found a way to manifest his evil in the physical world, all through the unwitting participation of a player in a virtual reality game. The implications are profound. The line between the virtual and the real has been irrevocably blurred, and the consequences will be devastating. Following the digital nightmare unleashed in Help Wanted, the Fazbear Entertainment brand, ever resilient, attempted a grand re-entry into the physical world. This brings us to the most ambitious and perhaps most ill-fated endeavor yet, the Freddy Fazbear's Mega Pizzaplex. This colossal entertainment complex, a true marvel of modern amusement, opened its doors sometime after the events of Help Wanted, aiming to redefine family fun on an unprecedented scale. The Pizzaplex was not merely built on new ground, it was constructed directly atop the ruins of Freddy Fazbear's Pizza Place, the restaurant from Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria Simulator. This location, as we've discussed, was itself built over the site of the original Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, creating a literal layered history of tragedy and haunted legacy beneath the gleaming chrome and neon. This architectural decision, whether born of convenience or a more sinister design, ensured that the new, seemingly pristine establishment was inherently connected to the dark past it sought to escape. The very foundations of the Mega Pizzaplex rested upon the ashes of previous Fazbear failures, a symbolic and literal grounding in the franchise's grim history. The Mega Pizzaplex was a sprawling labyrinth of attractions, a 3-story atrium, a golf course, a bowling alley, a go-kart track, multiple dining areas, and, of course, a grand stage for its new animatronic stars. These were the Glamrock Animatronics, Glamrock Freddy, Glamrock Chica, Montgomery Gator, and Roxanne Wolf, sleek, rock and roll inspired versions of the classic characters designed for maximum audience engagement and technological sophistication. Each animatronic had their own themed area within the Pizzaplex, from Monty Golf to Roxy Raceway, creating a truly immersive experience for visitors. The design philosophy was clear: bigger, brighter, and more technologically advanced than anything Fazbear Entertainment had attempted before. This was their attempt to finally shed the shadow of past controversies and present a clean, modern face to the public. However, beneath the polished exterior, the digital virus known as Glitchtrap, or William Afton's consciousness, was already at work, subtly corrupting the advanced systems that powered the Pizzaplex and its animatronics. The stage was set for a grand opening, a celebration of new beginnings, but the insidious influence of Glitchtrap soon made itself known. During one of the Glamrock animatronics performances on the main stage, a critical malfunction occurred. Glamrock Freddy, the lead singer and face of the new band, suddenly glitched, his system seizing up, and he collapsed, shutting down mid-performance. This was not a simple technical error, it was a symptom of the deeper corruption festering within the Pizzaplex's network. While the other animatronics continued their routine, seemingly unaffected, Freddy's unexpected shutdown was the first major sign that something was gravely wrong. The incident caused a brief panic among the audience, quickly contained by the Pizzaplex staff, but it signaled the beginning of the end for the facility's illusion of safety. As the Pizzaplex closed for the night, its vast, elaborate spaces emptied of patrons, a young boy named Gregory found himself inexplicably trapped inside. How he came to be there remains a mystery, but his presence after hours immediately put him in grave danger. The Pizzaplex, despite its family-friendly facade, transformed into a perilous environment once the doors were locked. The animatronics, now operating in a different, more aggressive mode, patrolled their sections, their programming subtly twisted by Glitchtrap's influence. Gregory, alone and vulnerable, desperately sought a hiding place. In a stroke of either incredible luck or pre-programmed intervention, he discovered the malfunctioned Glamrock Freddy, still on the main stage. Observing a small stomach hatch on Freddy's torso, designed for birthday cakes or perhaps small children for a meet-and-greet experience, Gregory instinctively crawled inside, seeking refuge from the patrolling animatronics. This act of desperation would forge an unlikely alliance. Remarkably, Glamrock Freddy, despite his earlier malfunction and the pervasive corruption within the Pizzaplex systems, seemed to retain a degree of his original programming, and, more importantly, a nascent form of free will. When Gregory emerged from his stomach hatch, Freddy, instead of apprehending him as the other animatronics would, immediately recognized Gregory as a superstar and expressed concern for his safety. He became Gregory's protector, an unexpected ally in a world gone mad. Freddy's primary directive to protect children seemed to override Glitchtrap's attempts at control, or perhaps Glitchtrap's influence was not yet fully established within Freddy's core programming. This unique resistance made Freddy the only animatronic Gregory could trust. He became Gregory's guide and guardian, helping him navigate the treacherous Pizzaplex and evade the other animatronics who were clearly under Glitchtrap's malevolent influence. The other Glamrock animatronics, Glamrock Chica, Montgomery Gator, and Roxanne Wolf, were not so fortunate. Their systems were deeply compromised by Glitchtrap, turning them into relentless hunters. They actively pursued Gregory throughout the Pizzaplex, their cheerful personas warped into menacing threats. Glamrock Chica, with her affinity for food, would often be found in dining areas or searching for pizza in the trash compactors, her movements erratic and aggressive. Montgomery Gator, the powerful and destructive bassist, would smash through obstacles in his pursuit, his rage amplified by the corruption. Roxanne Wolf, the vain and self-obsessed guitarist, would use her heightened senses and speed to track Gregory, her taunts echoing through the deserted halls. Each animatronic presented a unique challenge, their corrupted programming making them formidable and terrifying adversaries. Even the ubiquitous STAFF bots, the numerous humanoid service robots scattered throughout the Pizzaplex, were compromised. These seemingly innocuous automatons designed to assist guests and maintain order now acted as Glitchtrap's eyes and ears. They would report Gregory's presence to the main security system, triggering alarms and alerting the Glamrock animatronics to his location. Their blank, unblinking faces and monotone voices became a constant source of anxiety for Gregory, as every encounter with a STAFF bot risked revealing his position. They were a pervasive, low-level threat, a constant reminder that the entire facility was against him. To communicate with Freddy and interact with the Pizzaplex's complex systems, Gregory utilized a device known as the Fazwatch. This advanced smartwatch, likely a standard issue for staff or a premium guest accessory, became his lifeline. Through the Fazwatch, Gregory could receive messages from Freddy, who provided crucial advice, directions, and warnings. The watch also allowed Gregory to access the Pizzaplex's extensive network of security cameras, giving him a tactical advantage by allowing him to scout ahead and plan his movements. Furthermore, the Fazwatch could interact with certain environmental elements, such as opening doors or activating specific mechanisms, making it an indispensable tool for survival. It was through this device that their unique partnership truly flourished. A boy and a benevolent animatronic working together against a common, unseen enemy. The true orchestrator of Gregory's nightmare and the deeper corruption within the Pizzaplex was Vanny. Vanny, whose true identity is Vanessa, the Pizzaplex's security guard, was a human follower of Glitchtrap. Her mind, as we saw in Help Wanted, had been thoroughly corrupted by William Afton's digital consciousness. Under Glitchtrap's command, Vanny donned a rabbit costume, a chilling echo of Afton's own Spring Bonnie persona, and actively hunted Gregory throughout the Pizzaplex. Her presence added a terrifying human element to the pursuit, making the threat even more immediate and personal. Vanny was a direct manifestation of Glitchtrap's influence in the physical world, a living extension of his will, ensuring that Gregory's escape would be anything but easy. Her motives were entirely subservient to Glitchtrap, and her actions were driven by a twisted loyalty to the digital entity that had taken over her mind. She was not merely an antagonist. She was a victim and a perpetrator, a tragic figure caught in Afton's enduring web of evil. Gregory's struggle was not just against malfunctioning robots, but against a human being controlled by an ancient, malevolent force. The stakes were incredibly high, and the night was only just beginning. As the night progresses within the Mega Pizzaplex, Gregory, aided by a surprisingly sentient Freddy Fazbear, embarks on a series of increasingly perilous missions to upgrade his robotic protector. These upgrades, crucial for their survival, are not simply found, but earned through confrontations with the Pizzaplex's other animatronic inhabitants. For instance, to enhance Freddy's battery life, a vital improvement given his rapidly draining power cell, Gregory must venture into the treacherous depths of the Pizzaplex, often encountering the deranged animatronics that roam its halls. Each encounter is a test of Gregory's resourcefulness and Freddy's protective instincts, pushing them further into the dark heart of the entertainment complex. Similarly, acquiring claw upgrades for Freddy, which allow him to interact with the environment in new ways and even defend himself more effectively, necessitates defeating other animatronics in specific, often challenging scenarios. These encounters are not mere battles, but strategic puzzles, requiring Gregory to exploit environmental hazards or the animatronics' weaknesses, all while avoiding their relentless pursuit. The process of upgrading Freddy is thus a journey of escalating danger and growing reliance between boy and machine, solidifying their unusual bond amidst the chaos. One of the most memorable and unsettling encounters Gregory faces is with the daycare attendant, a dual-personality animatronic known as Sun and Moon. This character embodies the duality of the Pizzaplex itself, a vibrant, welcoming facade concealing a sinister underbelly. Sun, the cheerful and energetic persona, presides over the Superstar Daycare, a brightly lit, ball pit-filled wonderland designed for young children. He is initially helpful, guiding Gregory through the rules of the daycare and encouraging playful interaction. However, his incessant need for light and order quickly becomes a hindrance to Gregory's stealth-based objectives. The true horror of the daycare attendant manifests when the lights go out. In the ensuing darkness, Sun transforms into Moon, a menacing, red-eyed figure whose primary objective is to punish children who break the rules, or in Gregory's case, anyone who dares to disrupt the established order. Moon's aggression is amplified by Glitchtrap's insidious influence, a digital entity that has corrupted the Pizzaplex's systems and animatronics. Under this malevolent sway, Moon becomes a relentless pursuer, his chilling lullabies and eerie movements transforming the once playful daycare into a terrifying labyrinth. Gregory's encounters with the daycare attendant highlight the pervasive corruption within the Pizzaplex, demonstrating how even its most innocent-seeming attractions can be twisted into instruments of terror. The stark contrast between Sun's jovial demeanor and Moon's predatory nature serves as a constant reminder of the underlying evil that permeates the entire facility, a subtle yet powerful narrative device that underscores the game's overarching themes of innocence, corrupted, and darkness lurking beneath the surface. As Gregory navigates the sprawling Pizzaplex, he uncovers a disturbing trail of breadcrumbs in the form of messages and hidden rooms. These discoveries paint a grim picture of the Pizzaplex's true nature, revealing it to be far more than just a family entertainment center. The messages, often found on discarded sticky notes, computer terminals, or hidden within the environment, hint at a pervasive sense of unease and paranoia among the staff. They speak of strange occurrences, unexplained disappearances, and a growing suspicion regarding the animatronics' erratic behavior. These fragmented narratives piece together a mosaic of corporate cover-ups and sinister experiments, suggesting that the Pizzaplex is not merely a place of entertainment, but a stage for something far more nefarious. The hidden rooms, often accessed through secret passages or by solving environmental puzzles, offer even more chilling insights. These clandestine spaces reveal evidence of Vanny's activities, a human antagonist who has fallen under Glitchtrap's complete control. Gregory finds her unsettling hideouts, adorned with disturbing drawings, ritualistic symbols, and evidence of her obsession with William Afton. These discoveries confirm Vanny's role as a willing accomplice in Glitchtrap's wicked schemes, solidifying her as a tangible threat within the Pizzaplex. The cumulative effect of these messages and hidden rooms is to establish a palpable sense of dread, transforming the vibrant entertainment complex into a claustrophobic prison where dark secrets lurk around every corner. They serve as a constant reminder that Gregory is not just trying to escape a malfunctioning amusement park, but a deeply corrupted facility with a horrifying history. Through these unsettling discoveries, Gregory begins to piece together the puzzle of the Afton amulet and its profound connection to Vanny. The amulet, a mysterious artifact hinted at in the scattered messages and Vanny's own cryptic communications, is revealed to be a key component in Glitchtrap's plan. While its exact nature remains somewhat ambiguous, it is understood to be a conduit, a tool, or perhaps even a symbolic representation of Glitchtrap's influence over Vanny. The amulet is not a physical object Gregory can acquire, but rather a concept, a MacGuffin that drives Vanny's actions and her unwavering loyalty to Glitchtrap. It symbolizes the complete mental and spiritual subjugation of Vanny, transforming her into a puppet for William Afton's resurrected consciousness. Gregory learns that Vanny, under the amulet's symbolic sway, is actively working to facilitate Glitchtrap's ultimate goal, the complete revival of William Afton and the continuation of his murderous legacy. This revelation elevates Vanny from a mere antagonist to a tragic figure, a victim of manipulation, yet undeniably dangerous in her devotion. The Afton amulet thus serves as a powerful narrative device, explaining Vanny's otherwise inexplicable actions and solidifying her role as the primary human threat within the Pizzaplex. It underscores the insidious nature of Glitchtrap's influence, demonstrating how a digital entity can exert such profound control over a living person, transforming them into an instrument of pure evil. The understanding of this amulet, even if abstract, empowers Gregory with crucial knowledge about the true nature of the threat he faces, shifting his focus from merely escaping the animatronics to confronting the deeper, more sinister forces at play. To navigate the treacherous environment of the Pizzaplex and contend with its aggressive animatronics, Gregory relies on a set of ingenious tools, the Fazcam and the Phaser Blaster. These seemingly innocuous items, initially presented as children's toys, prove to be invaluable assets in his struggle for survival. The Fazcam, a camera that emits a powerful flash, is not merely for taking pictures. When activated, its intense burst of light temporarily stuns animatronics, providing Gregory with precious seconds to escape or reposition himself. This non-lethal method of incapacitation is crucial, as Gregory, a young boy, is ill-equipped for direct combat. The Fazcam requires careful timing and strategic deployment, often used in tense cat-and-mouse sequences where a single misstep can mean capture. Its limited battery life adds another layer of challenge, forcing Gregory to conserve its power and use it only when absolutely necessary. Complementing the Fazcam is the Phaser Blaster, a laser tag pistol that, while not lethal, can also stun animatronics. The Phaser Blaster offers a more offensive option, allowing Gregory to temporarily disable pursuers from a distance. Its rapid-fire capabilities and rechargeable energy cell make it a versatile tool for crowd control, particularly when facing multiple animatronics simultaneously. The strategic use of both the Fazcam and the Phaser Blaster transforms Gregory from a helpless victim into a resourceful survivor. These tools not only provide him with a means to defend himself, but also reinforce the game's stealth-oriented gameplay, encouraging players to think tactically about when and how to engage with the animatronics. They are symbolic of Gregory's growing agency and his ability to adapt to the increasingly dangerous circumstances within the Pizzaplex, demonstrating how even seemingly innocent objects can be repurposed for survival in a desperate situation. As the night wears on and the truth about the Pizzaplex's dark history begins to unravel, Gregory and Freddy make a shocking discovery that fundamentally alters their understanding of the facility. Beneath the glittering facade of the mega Pizzaplex, they unearth the ruins of Freddy Fazbear's Pizza Place, the infamous restaurant that served as the backdrop for so many tragic events. This subterranean revelation is not merely an architectural detail, it is a direct link to the franchise's horrifying past, a literal foundation built upon layers of trauma and death. The ruins are dark, dilapidated, and filled with the chilling remnants of the original pizzeria, serving as a stark contrast to the vibrant, futuristic aesthetic of the Pizzaplex above. This discovery confirms the long-held fan theory that the Pizzaplex was indeed constructed over the remains of previous Freddy Fazbear locations, effectively burying its dark history beneath a new layer of entertainment. It is within these decaying foundations that Gregory and Freddy encounter the ultimate horror, Burntrap. This grotesque, reanimated form of William Afton, the original serial killer and architect of so much suffering, is a truly terrifying sight. Burntrap is not merely a ghost or a digital consciousness. He is a physical manifestation of Afton's enduring evil, a charred and mangled animatronic husk powered by an unknown malevolent force. His presence in the ruins confirms that Afton's spirit, or at least a significant part of it, has found a way to persist, defying death and continuing his reign of terror. Burntrap's objective is chillingly clear: to control Freddy and the other animatronics, bending them to his will and using them as instruments for his nefarious plans. He attempts to exert his influence through a combination of technological manipulation and sheer malevolent presence, trying to corrupt Freddy's programming and turn him against Gregory. This struggle for control over Freddy becomes a central conflict, as Freddy valiantly resists Burntrap's insidious commands, demonstrating his unwavering loyalty to Gregory. The encounter with Burntrap in the ruins is the climax of Gregory's investigation, revealing the true mastermind behind the Pizzaplex's corruption and the ultimate threat he must overcome. It is a terrifying confrontation with the franchise's enduring villain, a stark reminder that some evils refuse to stay buried. In parallel with Burntrap's attempts to control the animatronics, Vanny, completely under Glitchtrap's sway, actively works to lure Gregory to Burntrap. Her mission is to complete Glitchtrap's plan, which involves sacrificing Gregory to fully revive William Afton and solidify his control. Vanny, donning her unsettling rabbit costume, stalks Gregory throughout the Pizzaplex, her movements a chilling blend of calculated pursuit and unsettling playfulness. She communicates with him through distorted messages and taunting appearances, attempting to manipulate him into vulnerable positions. Her goal is not simply to capture Gregory, but to deliver him to Burntrap, effectively offering him as a sacrifice to the resurrected killer. This adds a deeply personal and psychological layer to the horror, as Gregory is not just fleeing mindless animatronics, but a human antagonist who is actively trying to deliver him to a fate worse than death. Vanny's relentless pursuit and her attempts to lure Gregory highlight the profound influence Glitchtrap has over her, transforming her into a willing instrument of evil. Her presence serves as a constant reminder of the insidious nature of Glitchtrap's manipulation and the lengths to which a corrupted mind will go to fulfill its master's bidding. The convergence of Burntrap's physical presence and Vanny's active pursuit creates a terrifying pincer movement, leaving Gregory with increasingly fewer safe havens within the Pizzaplex. As the clock ticks towards 6 a.m., the official closing time of the Pizzaplex, Gregory is faced with a critical decision: to leave the facility or to delve deeper into its mysteries. This choice leads to various endings, each with its own consequences and implications for the future of the characters. The ability to leave at 6 a.m. offers a glimmer of hope, a chance for Gregory to escape the nightmare he has endured. However, the game subtly suggests that simply escaping may not resolve the deeper issues at play. One of the most poignant and widely discussed endings involves Gregory and Freddy escaping the Pizzaplex and finding refuge in the wilderness. In this particular ending, after a final confrontation and a harrowing escape, Gregory and Freddy, battered but alive, emerge from the burning ruins of the Pizzaplex. They are seen finding solace in a secluded cave, sharing a moment of quiet companionship as they contemplate their uncertain future. This ending depicts a powerful bond between the boy and the animatronic, highlighting themes of friendship, survival, and finding peace amidst chaos. It suggests a new beginning for both characters, a life free from the clutches of Afton's legacy and the Pizzaplex horrors. While this ending offers a sense of closure and a hopeful outlook, it also leaves many questions unanswered, hinting at the possibility of future challenges and the enduring nature of the franchise's overarching narrative. Each ending, however, serves to underscore the profound impact of Gregory's choices and the lasting consequences of his terrifying night within the Mega Pizzaplex. Another ending, one of the more direct confrontations, sees Gregory and Freddy ascend to the rooftop of the Mega Pizzaplex, where they finally confront Vanny. This encounter is depicted as a desperate struggle, culminating in Vanny's demise. The exact circumstances of her death vary slightly depending on interpretation, but the outcome is clear. The immediate threat posed by the corrupted security guard is neutralized. This ending offers a sense of finality to Vanny's storyline, portraying her as a direct antagonist who is ultimately defeated by the combined efforts of the protagonist and his animatronic protector. The rooftop setting, illuminated by the city lights, provides a dramatic backdrop for this climactic battle, emphasizing the high stakes involved. It's a resolution that suggests a temporary victory, at least for Gregory and Freddy, though the broader implications of Glitchtrap's influence remain. In stark contrast to the rooftop confrontation, a different ending portrays Gregory and Freddy attempting a more conventional escape. They manage to commandeer a dilapidated van, a symbol of their desperate flight from the Pizzaplex's dangers. As they drive away, a sense of relief washes over them, but it is short-lived. Freddy, whose internal power systems have been steadily deteriorating throughout their ordeal, finally succumbs to his failing battery. The once vibrant and protective animatronic companion goes dark, leaving Gregory alone and vulnerable. This ending is particularly poignant, highlighting the fragility of their alliance and the sacrifices made. The image of Gregory cradling the lifeless Freddy, silhouetted against the dawn, is a powerful one, underscoring the emotional bond that developed between the boy and the animatronic. It's a bittersweet escape, suggesting that even if they flee the immediate danger, the consequences of their journey are profound and lasting. This ending leaves the player with a sense of melancholy, questioning the true cost of survival in this perilous world. Perhaps the most significant and lore-heavy ending is the Springtrap ending. This path sees Gregory and Freddy descend into the deepest, most concealed layers beneath the Mega Pizzaplex, a journey that reveals the horrifying truth lurking beneath the gleaming facade. They discover the ruins of the original Freddy Fazbear's pizza place, the very location where so much of the franchise's dark history unfolded. Within these decaying walls, they confront a grotesque new antagonist, Springtrap. This entity is immediately recognizable to longtime fans as a heavily damaged and reanimated form of William Afton, encased within a decaying Spring Bonnie suit. The revelation is a chilling one, confirming Afton's continued horrifying existence even after the events of Pizzeria Simulator. His presence here signifies a deeper, more insidious threat than previously imagined, suggesting that Glitchtrap's influence is merely a manifestation of Afton's enduring evil. The environment itself, with its burned-out remnants and oppressive atmosphere, reinforces the sense of dread and the cyclical nature of the horrors that plague this universe. The Springtrap ending takes an even more unexpected turn with the sudden emergence of another monstrous entity known as the Blob, or sometimes referred to as Tangle. This colossal mass of tangled animatronic parts, comprised of various endoskeletons and seemingly corrupted components from previous iterations of Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, rises from the depths to attack Springtrap. The Blob is a terrifying sight, a chaotic amalgamation of past nightmares given a new, horrifying form. Its appearance is a direct consequence of the animatronics being salvaged and reused over and over again, their consciousnesses and metal bodies merging into a single, vengeful entity. The Blob's assault on Springtrap is a brutal and visceral confrontation, a clash of two ancient evils. This event is highly symbolic, suggesting a form of poetic justice, or perhaps an uncontrolled primal force of retribution, seeking to eradicate its creator. The Blob's motivations are unclear, but its actions are undeniably focused on neutralizing Springtrap, offering a chaotic intervention that prevents a straightforward resolution. This chaotic element further complicates the established lore, introducing a new, unpredictable force into the ongoing struggle against Afton's legacy. The sheer scale of the Blob, dwarfing both Gregory and Freddy, underscores the overwhelming nature of the threats that lie beneath the Pizzaplex. Its presence also raises questions about the fate of the original animatronics and the lingering agony that continues to fuel these monstrous creations. Beyond the direct confrontations and escapes, the Princess Quest ending offers a unique and surprisingly hopeful resolution. This path requires Gregory to engage with a series of retro arcade games scattered throughout the Pizzaplex. These games, collectively known as Princess Quest, are not mere distractions, they are intricately linked to Vanny's predicament. By successfully completing these games, Gregory is effectively navigating a digital labyrinth designed to free Vanny from the insidious control of Glitchtrap. The games themselves are metaphorical representations of Vanny's internal struggle, with each level bringing her closer to breaking free from the digital virus that has possessed her. This ending highlights the digital nature of Glitchtrap's influence, and the possibility of combating it on its own terms. It's a testament to the idea that even within the confines of a digital prison, there can be a path to liberation. The Princess Quest ending suggests that Vanny is not inherently evil, but rather a victim of manipulation, and that her redemption is possible through external intervention. The act of playing these arcade games becomes a heroic endeavor, a digital crusade to save a corrupted soul. Upon the successful completion of the Princess Quest series, a profound transformation occurs. Vanny is freed from Glitchtrap's control, her mind no longer enslaved by the digital entity. The immediate aftermath of this liberation is dramatic. The Mega Pizzaplex, already a place of peril, begins to suffer significant damage and partial destruction. This destruction is often depicted as a raging fire, consuming the massive entertainment complex. In the midst of this chaos, Gregory, Freddy, and a now human Vanny escape the burning Pizzaplex. This ending is particularly significant because it offers a glimpse of Vanny's true self, unburdened by Glitchtrap's influence. Her escape alongside Gregory and Freddy suggests a potential for redemption and a new beginning. The burning Pizzaplex serves as a powerful symbol of the destruction of Glitchtrap's stronghold and the end of its immediate threat. It's a cathartic release, a cleansing fire that purges the malevolent forces that had taken root within the complex. This ending, more than any other, offers a sense of hope and a possibility of a future free from the immediate influence of William Afton's digital consciousness. The image of the three characters united and escaping the inferno is a powerful one, signifying a triumph over overwhelming odds and the potential for a new, unburdened existence. The destruction of the Pizzaplex in this ending is not merely a consequence of the escape, but a necessary step in severing Glitchtrap's hold and ensuring Vanny's true freedom. Indeed, the Mega Pizzaplex, despite its initial grandeur and technological sophistication, suffers significant damage and partial destruction in several of the game's endings. Whether it's consumed by fire in the Princess Quest ending, or left in disarray after the various confrontations, the Pizzaplex rarely emerges unscathed. This recurring theme of destruction serves as a powerful metaphor for the inherent instability and corruption that permeates the Freddy Fazbear franchise. No matter how advanced or seemingly innocent a new establishment may appear, the lingering malevolence always finds a way to manifest, ultimately leading to its downfall. The destruction of the Pizzaplex is not just a visual spectacle, it's a narrative device that reinforces the cyclical nature of tragedy and horror in this universe. Each new location, built upon the ashes of the old, seems destined to meet a similar fate, a testament to the enduring curse that follows the Fazbear name. The crumbling infrastructure and burning wreckage symbolize the failure of attempts to sanitize or rebrand the franchise, as the dark history inevitably catches up. The multiple endings of Security Breach collectively depict a wide array of fates for Gregory, Freddy, Vanny, and Springtrap. Gregory's fate ranges from a solitary melancholic escape with a dying Freddy, to a triumphant escape with a redeemed Vanny, or even facing the unknown after confronting Springtrap. Freddy, the steadfast protector, can either succumb to his mechanical limitations, continue his protective role alongside Gregory, or even be left behind in the ruins. Vanny's trajectory is perhaps the most varied, from her demise on the rooftop to her continued existence as a corrupted servant, or her ultimate redemption and freedom. Springtrap, the embodiment of William Afton's enduring evil, is either consumed by the blob, left to fester in the ruins, or his influence is merely curtailed by Vanny's liberation. These divergent outcomes highlight the player's agency and the branching narrative paths, emphasizing that the future of these characters is not predetermined but shaped by the choices made within the game. Each ending offers a distinct conclusion, leaving players to ponder the various possibilities and the ultimate implications for the wider lore. The ambiguity of some endings also leaves room for future interpretations and continuations, keeping the narrative open-ended and intriguing. Crucially, the events of Security Breach directly follow the events of Five Nights at Freddy's Help Wanted. This chronological placement is vital for understanding the narrative continuity. Help Wanted introduced the terrifying concept of Glitchtrap, a digital consciousness of William Afton that had infected the Freddy Fazbear virtual experience. This digital entity was shown to be actively seeking a host, and it successfully found one in Vanessa, who then became Vanny. Security Breach picks up precisely where Help Wanted left off, showcasing the direct consequences of Glitchtrap's manipulation and Vanessa's transformation. The Pizzaplex itself serves as the physical manifestation of Glitchtrap's influence, a grand, seemingly innocent facade behind which the insidious corruption took root. The presence of Vanny, her actions, and the underlying threat of Springtrap are all directly attributable to the events and revelations of Help Wanted. Without understanding the digital infection introduced in the previous game, the motivations and dangers within Security Breach would lack their full context. This direct chronological link firmly establishes Security Breach as a continuation of the overarching narrative, building upon the foundations laid by its predecessor and further deepening the lore surrounding William Afton's enduring malevolence. The Pizzaplex, therefore, is not just a new location, it is the stage for the next chapter in the ongoing saga of Glitchtrap's insidious plan. Following the events of Security Breach, the Mega Pizzaplex, a monument to childhood entertainment, now lies in ruins, a testament to the destructive power unleashed within its walls. It's in this desolate, decaying landscape that our next chapter unfolds, a story set after the main game, where the remnants of the Pizzaplex are even more broken and dangerous. The year is still shrouded in a bit of mystery, but we know it's a direct continuation, a few weeks or months perhaps, after Gregory and Freddy's escape, or at least one of their escapes. Our protagonist for this harrowing journey is Cassie, a friend of Gregory. Motivated by a desperate plea, Cassie ventures into the skeletal remains of the once vibrant entertainment complex. The Pizzaplex, which once gleamed with neon lights and the promise of endless fun, is now a labyrinth of twisted metal, shattered glass, and oppressive silence. The air is thick with dust and the stench of decay, a stark contrast to the lively atmosphere it once boasted. Cassie's mission is clear, yet fraught with peril. Find Gregory, who has seemingly been trapped within the ruins. Her journey begins with a cryptic message from Gregory himself, a faint signal cutting through the static of the ruined complex. His voice, tinged with urgency and fear, implores her for help. More than just a plea, Gregory provides Cassie with a vital tool, a Faz wrench, a multi-purpose device that will prove indispensable in navigating the technological remnants of the Pizzaplex. This wrench, a symbol of the franchise's deep integration with mechanical and electronic systems, is not merely a repair tool, but a key to unlocking the secrets and bypassing the defenses of the abandoned facility. It's a physical manifestation of the player's agency, a way to interact directly with the environment and manipulate its decaying systems. As Cassie delves deeper into the Pizzaplex, the extent of the damage becomes horrifyingly clear. Entire sections are caved in, animatronics lie in pieces, and the vibrant decor is now faded and crumbling. The once bustling atrium, a central hub of activity, is now a cavernous expanse of rubble and shadows. The Phaser Blast Arena, once a battleground for laser tag enthusiasts, is now a dark, echoing space, its futuristic props and equipment lying in disarray. The daycare, a place of bright colors and playful energy, is eerily quiet, its structures damaged and its atmosphere heavy with a sense of abandonment. Every corner turned reveals more devastation, painting a grim picture of the chaos that transpired. It's a visual narrative of destruction, hinting at the fierce battles and desperate struggles that took place before Cassie's arrival. The decay isn't just aesthetic, it's systemic, affecting the very functionality of the building. Power flickers intermittently, doors jam, and security systems are either completely offline or malfunctioning wildly, creating new and unpredictable hazards. The Faz wrench quickly becomes Cassie's most trusted companion. It's not just for tightening bolts, it's a digital key and a power conduit. She uses it to reactivate dormant control panels, bypass locked doors, and even temporarily disable security systems that would otherwise bar her path. The wrench allows her to interface with the Pizzaplex's decaying infrastructure, a tangible link to the technology that once powered this colossal entertainment complex. Each successful use of the Faz wrench is a small victory, a temporary reprieve from the overwhelming sense of being trapped and vulnerable. It's a mechanic that reinforces the idea of the player actively engaging with the environment, not just passively observing it. The wrench's ability to manipulate the environment also hints at a deeper, more intricate network of systems within the Pizzaplex, suggesting that even in ruin, its technological heart still beats, albeit faintly. A pivotal moment in Cassie's journey occurs when she stumbles upon a peculiar artifact, the VANNI mask. This isn't just any mask, it's a piece of advanced augmented reality technology, a direct link to the digital underbelly of the Pizzaplex. Upon donning the mask, Cassie's perception of reality is immediately altered. The mundane, decaying physical world is overlaid with a vibrant, yet unsettling digital landscape. This AR world is a ghost in the machine, a virtual representation of the Pizzaplex's network, revealing hidden pathways, glitching textures, and spectral projections of what once was. It's a powerful narrative and gameplay device, allowing the player to see beyond the immediate physical limitations and uncover secrets that are invisible to the naked eye. The VANNI mask is not just a tool, it's a lens into a different dimension of reality within the game, blurring the lines between the physical and the digital, a theme that has been subtly woven into the fabric of the franchise since its inception. The very name, VANNI, carries echoes of Vanny, the antagonist from Security Breach, suggesting a deeper, more sinister connection to the mask's origins and purpose. This connection immediately raises questions about the mask's true intent, and whether it is a tool for liberation or a trap in disguise. Within this augmented reality, Cassie encounters a spectral guide, AR Glamrock Freddy. This ethereal version of the beloved animatronic appears as a digital construct, guiding Cassie through the virtual pathways and offering cryptic advice. Unlike the physical Glamrock Freddy, who was a tangible ally, this AR version is a more ambiguous presence, a digital echo of a protector. He points out hidden glitches, reveals invisible platforms, and warns of virtual dangers. His presence in the AR world reinforces the idea that the animatronics themselves are deeply integrated with the Pizzaplex's digital infrastructure, their consciousness perhaps extending beyond their physical bodies. This AR Freddy serves as a kind of digital breadcrumb trail, leading Cassie deeper into the Pizzaplex's virtual labyrinth. His guidance is crucial, as the AR world, while offering new paths, also presents its own unique set of challenges and threats. Indeed, the AR world is far from safe. Cassie finds herself pursued by AR animatronics and AR staff bots, digital specters that mirror their physical counterparts in their relentless pursuit. These virtual enemies are not bound by physical limitations. They phase through walls, appear, and disappear with unsettling speed, and their attacks, though digital, feel acutely real. They are manifestations of the Pizzaplex's corrupted security protocols, digital guardians turned hostile. The AR staff bots in particular are a constant nuisance, their glowing eyes and robotic movements a stark reminder of the ever-present surveillance that once permeated the Pizzaplex. Navigating the AR world becomes a delicate dance between exploiting its advantages and evading its digital predators, constantly switching between the physical and augmented realities to survive. The tension is heightened by the knowledge that these digital threats, while not physically harming Cassie, can still impede her progress, trigger alarms, or even force her out of the AR world, leaving her vulnerable to physical dangers. The line between what is real and what is virtual becomes increasingly blurred, adding another layer of psychological dread to Cassie's already terrifying ordeal. Amidst the digital chaos and physical decay, Cassie discovers a deactivated Glamrock Chica. This once vibrant animatronic, a symbol of the Pizzaplex's playful charm, now lies inert, her colorful facade marred by damage. Using her trusty Faz wrench, Cassie undertakes the delicate task of repairing Chica. This act of repair is more than just a gameplay mechanic. It's a moment of connection, a brief respite from the relentless pursuit, and a chance to restore a piece of the Pizzaplex to its former glory, even if only temporarily. The repair process involves intricate puzzles, requiring Cassie to carefully manipulate Chica's internal mechanisms, a testament to the complex engineering of these animatronics. Successfully repairing Chica not only aids Cassie's progress by clearing a path or activating a mechanism, but also offers a glimmer of hope, a suggestion that even in ruin, there's a possibility of restoration. It's a moment that highlights Cassie's resourcefulness and her growing understanding of the Pizzaplex's inner workings. As Cassie continues her perilous journey, she receives guidance from an unexpected source, Helpy, an artificial intelligence assistant. Helpy, a seemingly benevolent AI, appears as a holographic projection, offering advice, information, and directing Cassie through the labyrinthine ruins. Helpy's voice is calm and reassuring, a stark contrast to the terrifying atmosphere of the Pizzaplex. However, the presence of an AI assistant in a facility known for its corrupted animatronics and sinister digital entities immediately raises suspicion. Is Helpy truly an ally, or is it another deceptive program, subtly manipulating Cassie for its own unknown agenda? This ambiguity adds another layer of suspense, forcing the player to question every piece of information and every directive received. Helpy's guidance is often crucial, pointing out critical objectives or warning of impending dangers, yet the underlying uncertainty about its true nature keeps Cassie and the player on edge. The AI's ability to access the Pizzaplex systems and provide real-time information suggests a deep level of integration, making its intentions even more critical to discern. Helpy directs Cassie to the daycare, a once vibrant area now reduced to a derelict shell. Within this shattered space, Cassie finds a severely damaged Moon animatronic. Moon, usually a playful yet mischievous character, now lies incapacitated, a victim of the widespread destruction. The sight of the broken animatronic serves as a grim reminder of the power struggles and violent events that brought the Pizzaplex to its knees. The daycare itself is a haunting space, its colorful murals and play structures now covered in dust and debris, a stark contrast to the cheerful memories it was designed to create. The damaged Moon is not merely an obstacle, it's a key to unlocking further progress. Cassie's mission in the daycare is to disable the security nodes protecting the Mimic. The Mimic, a terrifying endoskeleton-like entity, is the true antagonist lurking beneath the Pizzaplex, a creature capable of imitating voices and behaviors, a master of deception. The security nodes, powerful digital safeguards, are preventing Cassie from reaching this ultimate threat. Using her Faz wrench, Cassie meticulously works to deactivate each node, a series of intricate puzzles that require both skill and precision. Each disabled node brings her closer to the Mimic, but also increases the sense of dread, knowing she is approaching the source of the Pizzaplex's corruption. The process of disabling these nodes is a test of her resolve and her growing mastery of the Faz wrench and its capabilities. It's a direct confrontation with the Pizzaplex's defenses, designed to protect its darkest secret. Finally, after navigating countless dangers and overcoming numerous obstacles, Cassie discovers a hidden area beneath the Pizzaplex. This isn't just another section of the complex, it's a subterranean labyrinth, a forgotten layer beneath the layers of entertainment and destruction. This hidden area, often referred to as the Mimic's Lair, is a place of primal fear and technological horror. It's a stark, industrial environment, devoid of the colorful facades of the Pizzaplex, revealing the raw, unadorned machinery and infrastructure that powered the entire complex. The air here is heavy, with an oppressive silence, broken only by the faint hum of machinery and the chilling sounds of something moving in the shadows. This lair is the heart of the darkness, the origin point of many of the horrors that have plagued the Pizzaplex. It's a place where the true nature of the Mimic is revealed, a place where its terrifying capabilities are unleashed without restraint. The descent into the Mimic's lair marks a crucial turning point in Cassie's journey, a transition from navigating the ruins to directly confronting the entity responsible for much of the devastation. This is where the true horror of the Pizzaplex is laid bare, where the lines between animatronic and monster, between program and malevolent intelligence, become terrifyingly blurred. The architecture of the lair itself speaks volumes, a utilitarian and grim design that contrasts sharply with the vibrant, albeit now ruined, aesthetics of the Pizzaplex above. It feels ancient, a relic of a different era, hinting at the Mimic's long and disturbing history. This is not just a hidden room, it's a deep, dark secret buried beneath layers of corporate ambition and shattered dreams. The very atmosphere of the lair is designed to instill a profound sense of unease, a feeling of being utterly alone and vulnerable in the face of an unimaginable evil. The journey to this point has been arduous, but the true test, the ultimate confrontation, now awaits Cassie in the depths of the Mimic's domain. The stage is set for a terrifying encounter, where Cassie's courage and resourcefulness will be pushed to their absolute limits. As Cassie navigates the increasingly perilous ruins of the Pizzaplex, following what she believes are Gregory's instructions, a chilling realization begins to dawn. The entity she's been communicating with, the voice that has guided her through the collapsing infrastructure and past the corrupted animatronics, is not Gregory at all. It is a new, terrifying antagonist, the Mimic. This revelation shatters Cassie's perception of her mission, transforming it from a rescue operation into a desperate fight for survival. The Mimic, a highly advanced endoskeleton with the ability to replicate voices and movements, has been trapped within the Pizzaplex's deepest levels, specifically the area beneath the burnt remains of Freddy Fazbear's pizza place from FNAF 6, a location now known as the Mimic's Lair. Its imprisonment has only fueled its malevolent nature, turning it into a truly formidable threat. The shift in the Mimic's vocalizations is subtle at first, a slight distortion, a momentary crackle, before fully revealing its true guttural voice. This auditory transformation is a pivotal moment, confirming Cassie's growing dread. The mimic's voice, no longer mimicking Gregory's, is a terrifying symphony of clicks, whirs, and synthesized growls, a sound that perfectly encapsulates its corrupted and mechanical essence. This auditory reveal is not just a jump scare, but a profound narrative turning point, exposing the true nature of the enemy Cassie has unknowingly been aiding. The Mimic, a creation originally designed for entertainment purposes, specifically to mimic the actions of children and animatronics, has been twisted by years of neglect, isolation, and perhaps even the influence of the Agony, a supernatural energy associated with traumatic events in the Five Nights at Freddy's universe. Its original programming, meant for innocent imitation, has been perverted into a tool for manipulation and malice. The full scope of the Mimic's malevolence becomes horrifyingly clear as its true identity is unmasked. This is not simply another rogue animatronic. This is the primary antagonist, the architect of the chaos and the true threat lurking beneath the Pizzaplex. Its history, if one were to delve into the deeper lore, is complex and tragic, stemming from its creation by Edwin Murray, a robotics engineer who designed it to entertain his grieving son. However, after a tragic accident involving his son, Edwin, in a fit of rage and despair, attacked and deactivated the Mimic, imbuing it with a primal form of agony. Later, it was reactivated and used to dismantle animatronics at the original Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, learning and adapting from every action, every movement, every sound. This constant learning, coupled with the agony it absorbed, transformed it into the cunning and dangerous entity Cassie now faces. Its long imprisonment within the Pizzaplex's forgotten depths has only intensified its desire for freedom, and, seemingly, for revenge. It has observed, it has learned, and it has waited. Even after its true voice is revealed, the Mimic, in a chilling display of its manipulative capabilities, attempts to lure Cassie closer by reverting to its stolen Gregory impression. It uses desperate pleas, feigning distress and vulnerability, hoping to exploit Cassie's compassion and her desire to help her friend. This psychological warfare is a hallmark of the Mimic's tactics, demonstrating its understanding of human emotions and its ability to weaponize them. It understands the bond between Cassie and Gregory, and it exploits that bond with ruthless efficiency, a testament to its advanced learning algorithms and its capacity for deception. The Mimic's ability to perfectly replicate Gregory's voice even after its own distorted voice has been heard underscores the terrifying extent of its mimicry capabilities. It's a psychological assault as much as a physical threat, playing on Cassie's deepest fears and loyalties. However, the real Gregory, having somehow gained access to the Pizzaplex internal communication system, intervenes. His genuine voice, clear and urgent, cuts through the Mimic's deception, instructing Cassie to activate a device known as the Attractor. This device, a crucial piece of technology within the Pizzaplex's infrastructure, is designed to contain and neutralize rogue animatronics. Gregory, having likely encountered the Mimic before, or at least understood its capabilities, knows that direct confrontation is not an option for Cassie. His instructions are precise and critical, emphasizing the need to trap the Mimic rather than engage it in a futile battle. This intervention by the real Gregory is a moment of profound relief for Cassie, confirming that her friend is indeed alive and, more importantly, actively working to help her. It also solidifies the Mimic's role as the primary antagonist, as Gregory's actions are solely focused on its neutralization. Following Gregory's frantic instructions, Cassie activates the Attractor. The device, once engaged, triggers a catastrophic chain reaction within the Mimic's lair. The ancient, unstable structure of the Pizzaplex's foundations begins to buckle and collapse. Massive chunks of concrete, twisted metal, and shattered pipes rain down from above, creating a deafening symphony of destruction. The Attractor, in essence, is not a weapon in the traditional sense, but a mechanism that exploits the structural weaknesses of the environment, turning the very architecture of the Pizzaplex into a trap for the Mimic. The sheer force of the falling debris is immense, designed to incapacitate even the most resilient animatronic. The Mimic, caught in the heart of this manufactured cataclysm, is overwhelmed by the sheer scale of the destruction. As the dust settles and the cacophony subsides, the Mimic's physical form is revealed to be severely damaged. Its metallic shell is crushed and twisted, wires are severed, and its internal mechanisms are exposed. It lies amidst the rubble, seemingly incapacitated, a testament to the power of the Attractor and Gregory's quick thinking. The extent of the damage suggests that the Mimic is no longer a functional threat, its malevolent programming silenced, its mimicry capabilities rendered inert. This moment provides a fleeting sense of victory and relief for Cassie, as she witnesses the apparent defeat of the terrifying entity that had haunted her journey. The visual of the destroyed Mimic is intended to convey a sense of finality, a definitive end to its reign of terror within the Pizzaplex. With the Mimic seemingly neutralized, Cassie receives a final, heartfelt message from the real Gregory. His voice, filled with genuine gratitude and relief, thanks her for her bravery and her unwavering commitment to helping him. This message serves as a powerful emotional anchor, reassuring Cassie that her efforts were not in vain and that she has successfully completed her mission. It also provides a moment of closure, allowing Cassie to process the traumatic events she's endured and to acknowledge the profound impact she has had. Gregory's gratitude is not just for her actions, but for her courage in facing such unimaginable horrors. It's a testament to their friendship and the bond they share. Following his message, Gregory activates the elevator, a lifeline to the surface, promising Cassie escape from the nightmare below. The elevator's ascent is a symbol of hope, a journey from the darkness and danger into the safety of the outside world. Cassie steps into the elevator, her body weary but her spirit buoyed by the prospect of freedom and the knowledge that she has saved her friend. The slow, creaking ascent of the elevator is a moment of quiet triumph, a chance for Cassie to reflect on her harrowing ordeal and to anticipate her return to a semblance of normalcy. The implication is that Gregory, having secured his own safety, is now ensuring hers, demonstrating his protective nature and his commitment to their friendship. However, the Five Nights at Freddy's universe rarely offers such clean resolutions. As the elevator slowly ascends, a chilling sight shatters the illusion of safety. From amidst the rubble of the mimic's lair, a single metallic hand emerges, reaching upwards, a silent, terrifying testament to its continued existence. This visual is a masterful stroke of horror, subverting the audience's expectation of a happy ending and plunging them back into uncertainty. The mimic, despite the catastrophic damage, is not truly defeated. Its resilience, its sheer will to survive, is horrifyingly apparent. The image of the hand, slowly and deliberately reaching out, is a powerful symbol of its enduring threat. Accompanying the visual confirmation of its survival, the mimic's distorted voice is heard once again, a guttural whisper that sends shivers down Cassie's spine. The voice, though faint, is undeniable, confirming the unimaginable. The mimic is still active, still a threat. This auditory confirmation reinforces the visual, leaving no doubt about its survival. The implication is that the mimic's core programming, its malevolent intelligence, is far more resilient than its physical form. It has endured, it has adapted, and it is still hunting. The sound of its voice, even after the supposed destruction, is a terrifying reminder of the enduring evil that permeates the Pizzaplex. The elevator's ascent, once a symbol of hope, quickly transforms into a terrifying trap. The mimic, with its renewed malevolence, orchestrates a final, devastating act of revenge. The elevator cable, stretched taut and strained by the weight of the ascending car, suddenly snaps. The sound is sharp, deafening, and final. Cassie's brief moment of relief is replaced by pure terror as the elevator plummets downwards, accelerating rapidly into the darkness. Her fate is left chillingly ambiguous. Is she killed by the impact? Is she merely trapped at the mercy of the mimic? The game deliberately leaves this unanswered, amplifying the horror and leaving the player to ponder the grim possibilities. The final, horrifying image is that of Cassie's elevator car, now a mangled wreck, lying at the bottom of the mimic's lair. She has been sent plummeting back down into the very depths from which she tried to escape, back into the clutches of the entity she believed she had defeated. This ending is a brutal subversion of expectations, a stark reminder that, in the world of Five Nights at Freddy's, true escape is often an illusion. Cassie's journey, filled with bravery and determination, ends not in triumph, but in a chilling uncertainty, leaving her fate inextricably linked to the mimic's enduring malevolence. The cycle of terror continues, and the Pizzaplex, even in its ruined state, remains a prison for its unfortunate victims. The mimic, a true embodiment of persistent evil, has once again asserted its dominance, ensuring that its reign of terror is far from over. This ambiguous and terrifying conclusion solidifies the mimic as one of the most formidable and enduring villains in the entire Five Nights at Freddy's timeline. From the tragic beginnings of William Afton's descent into madness and the suffering of his victims, through the cyclical hauntings of Freddy Fazbear's pizza establishments, to the digital echoes and physical remnants that persist even in the desolate landscapes of the Pizzaplex and its ruined extension, the Five Nights at Freddy saga has consistently explored themes of grief, revenge, and the enduring nature of evil. It is a narrative woven through decades of technological advancements and moral decay, a chilling testament to the idea that some spirits and some mistakes simply refuse to rest. And that is the complete Five Nights at Freddy's